Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to That'll Never Get Old. I freaking love those intros. Harry's expressions.
That one felt like we watched the entire first half of the movie in it. Like that was
Pretty much. The movie, though, is Goblet of Fire, and we are all on board the Hogwarts Express to the Harry Potter retrospective, doing all the films. So far, we have covered Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, and Prisoner of Azkaban, all available early on Patreon. If you're listening to this, this is available early on Patreon as well, the Goblet of Fire. So I am the Gillyweed, Taylor Field, and I'm joined by...
I am the squib on the cannon, Kirklin Patzer.
I am the Adam Harcaster, Dylan Muss.
And I am the Triwizard champion, Jessica.
Yes, so... how I'm going to start. I don't have any plugs because I don't know what's releasing at this time or anything like that. But so we'll just get into it. So this movie, how does it work for everyone? How do you guys feel with this movie?
I like how I just want to say you don't have any plugs, so you don't know what's coming out. But like, what about our normal plugs? Like, you can follow us on Facebook.
That's a brilliant idea.
Twitter at GeekVerse. Check out our
check
website.
out our Sunday streams.
Lunch Lady. Things. Go check out our Lunch Lady rebroadcast.
Good point, Jessica. You heard Jessica. Check out our social media channels: GeekVerse Cast, GeekVerse.ca, and our Facebook,
YouTube. All the places you can find it. This plug was a mess. We're good. Let's just start.
It was a gong show.
Jessica, we're starting late. We don't have time for the plugs. We just gotta right into the
edit them in later.
I'll start off, Taylor. So this was an interesting watch. I mean, watching all of these right now under the putting more with a more detailed look is been very interesting. This one I think had the strongest effect on me in the way that if you asked me a couple of years ago, I would have just said this is my favorite movie out of all of them. I've always really liked this one. I think when I was younger, probably part of that was just because there's like these fun challenges with cool set pieces. But I feel like watching it this last week, really hit me differently. And I have a lot of problems with it in terms of some character stuff, in terms of, maybe some questions that we can talk about and answer. But I still enjoy it, but I definitely have a lot more issues with it. And I think it's not quite what I thought it was. What I've had in my mind for the last few years, having not watched it in a long time, and just watching it more closely, kind of soured me on some things, some characters, and particularly maybe some developments also from the previous movies that we've watched, some character stuff that we've discussed before, and how it kind of just miraculously changed here. So I definitely have some complicated thoughts, and I don't even know. I don't know where it'll be in my ranking at this point. I thought it would have been at the top, like 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. I don't know anymore. It could be anywhere at this point. We still have 4 movies to go, obviously. So that's my kind of scattered overall thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I'll take it away next. I remember seeing this the first time and really, really liking it. I've always been a fan of like sports, and I feel like this is like the most sports heavy like movie out of all of them. Whether it's like the World Cup at the beginning or just like the set of challenges. I also just like the whole Chosen One storyline, and it's really like following Harry, like big. I mean, the entire series is about Harry Potter, but like this one in particular, it's like, oh, the 14-year-old, that has to go against all these 17-year-olds. You're just like falling from his shoes. I feel like as a kid, it was so easy for me to just like insert myself into Harry's position. It's like, oh, this is so cool, like he's the one going into these challenges. So I always really, really liked this movie. I remember being like shocked about like the plot twist kind of near the end when it just totally shifts, and that just like all of like the details of what was going on just went over my head when I was a kid. Like I didn't really understand that like the cup was a port key, and they kept saying that, and I'm like, so it's just over. Like why would the winners be taken here? Like I just didn't understand like the whole plot aspect of it. So I feel like if I'm looking at just like for the plot wise, I feel like this was actually my most enjoyable like watch through of it. Even though like obviously like the big shock factor wasn't really there because I knew what was going to happen, but like really following like I don't know, the plans that were being spoken of in like the backgrounds and stuff like that. I really really like that on this viewing. I feel like I enjoyed it the most out of it all. And I still really like this movie, and I'm excited to talk about. There's like some logistics things that I have issues with that I didn't really think about, other than like, you know, looking at it more of an analytical eye, especially since I knew we were going to be talking about it. So I'm interested if we share some thoughts there, Dylan. But overall, I still really really like this movie. I just all of the events and all of that stuff, like one champion, you know, to rule them all. I love that stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. The hair is terrible though. Fuck, this is the worst one. This is the worst hair out of the entire series.
Growing pains, yeah.
How about you, Jessica?
The notorious ladies first from Taylor Field.
So, yeah, this one, I don't know exactly where this falls in my rankings quite yet. Kind of rewatching them and talking about them and questioning everything, you know, definitely puts a little bit of a different spin on it once you start to really break down those kind of walls and thoughts with other people. That being said, this one is usually pretty high for me. I do enjoy it. I have fun watching the challenges. This is the first one where, you know, Dumbledore finally really comes back. This is, you know, we start to actually get quite dark again. Not in the same sense as Azkaban, but in the sense that, you know, obviously we get our Death Eaters and everything like that. This being said, I definitely can see where a lot of issues are. I have a lot of I've been doing kind of like a note section as I watch book facts or differences, and then just kind of did you know sections. And this one, I have a lot in the differences and the did you knows. And so, you know, I'm interested to kind of talk about those and see what your guys' thoughts on some of these things are, because, you know, for people that haven't read the books, there's a lot that they do leave out in this one. And so while it is fun, there's kind of little pieces and nuances that might make a difference once you hear them. But yeah, overall, I think this is a fun movie. I do enjoy how you kind of do get the funness of the sports and the championship, and then the seriousness of everything happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For me, Goblet of Fire, it's definitely in my hat trick of Harry Potter films. It's so good, and there's so many things that happen in this film that I love. Again, like the events that unfold, the challenges, and just I guess it's kind of the first film that we get with Harry Potter where they kind of dabble in the romance a little bit. And I mean, everyone's gone through high school. We've all had the hormones hit us, so it's very very relatable.
Still waiting for my hormones.
Not everyone has gone through high school yet, though, Taylor. I will say that. On
To
this
all
path,
of
for sure.
our little kids listening to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it has so many things that you laugh at, and just a little bit of drama, which, you know, never one to shy away from a little drama. It's a little guilty pleasure, but yeah, it's just awesome. I love dragons, and you get some of that in here. You get some underwater stuff. It's just such a variety of things. And again, the Dark Lord returns, so that's always a special thing. I mean, that's a huge turning point, because we're halfway, I guess almost halfway, considering the last movie was 2 parts, but this is really halfway through now, and it is crazy that Voldemort, he comes back. So that's a huge boost for me. So yeah, where do we want to start?
I wanted to bring up, because we kind of talked about this early on in the last one, was that the first 2 movies had the same director, third one had a different director. Now this movie has an even different director than the first 3. Also has a different composer, and I feel like that's very noticeable to me. Like the music's definitely not as iconic as the first 3. Obviously, you know, John Williams is hard to match in that way, but it still has the same like screenwriter, at least, so there is that consistency there. But once again, I feel like the director changes a lot, and even things like the kind of costumes they wear, I feel like that kind of thing we talked about last episode even changed more drastically here, where they're less casual than they were last time, and maybe that's just they're a little bit older and wearing different stuff. But yeah, I feel like the change of director was very noticeable to me, and it tonally felt very different than the other 3 movies that we've watched so far. And some character changes as well, and I don't know if that was because of director things or if that was just the progression of the story, but I feel like there was quite a few changes here that seemed a bit inconsistent with the previous ones. How did you guys feel about that?
So I'm just going to start by throwing out, because I do have 2, I guess maybe you could say 3 different facts about this director. So first of all, he did want to do this movie as a 2-part series, or like 2-part movie.
That is interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and decided it was actually, if I remember correctly, the director of the 3rd movie convinced him to not do that, to just keep it as one feature. So actually a lot of things that he wanted to include and wanted to do got cut, trying to keep that time. This was also the first movie that received a PG-13 rating. So this is the first director that got outside of that just PG family-friendly one. And I will also, I'll throw out this little extra fun fact. This director only got 1 million compared to like the director of the first movie got 10 million. I believe it was. So,
all that money's going to Potter.
That might explain why
Daniel.
he only did this one movie, and the next movie we're going to be talking about another director that joins the mix, right?
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, a couple of just little facts on the director there, but I will go ahead and just kind of continue on. So first, I don't know why in my memory I thought this was the one where Dumbledore, we got a new Dumbledore, and that's why we had the long hair, is because there was a pause. But that's not the case. And so yeah, I don't really know why we got, maybe that was just hip with the time to have long hair like that, because I know that we've definitely had a phase when I was in high school where everyone had long hair like that. But
yeah, I don't know.
Probably. I mean, I think I had hair like that, so it's
The Dumbledore phase, everyone goes through it.
but other than that, I don't necessarily think this one is as stark a contrast as the last one was to me. The other one, it felt really dark, and
Definitely
it's
agree with that.
really everything, not even just the content, but the whole movie is shot very dark. This one I didn't feel as stark of a contrast, and I don't recognize the music in movies as much as you do, so I can't comment on that, but I would love to hear if Taylor and Kirklin, if they noticed that music, that difference, how much it affected it for them.
I think it's hard for me to like compare it from this movie to the last movie, as opposed to this movie to the first 2, or the last movie to the first 2, because the first 2 just had and again, like John Williams, he did the last movie, didn't he? Prisoner of Azkaban.
The first 3.
Yeah, so like it had the same composer, but I think it's like more of, I just remember like the movie as a whole as being more whimsical, and I feel like those songs just tied into that more. And that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just not the best, I guess, at identifying like the music here, because yeah, like when I think back to like the iconic Potter like music, I think of like the intro to the first movie, or like something like that, or like the second movie.
We were even talking about the last one, how there was that sequence with the like when they go through the clock tower, and there's kind of that little part of the score, that little piece of nuance. Whereas I can't really point to any, not to throw shade at the composer for this movie, I can't really think of any moment that the score was really impactful for any of the character moments, or even like the action scenes. It seemed a little more generic to me.
Yeah, that's fair for sure. Just touching upon like this movie being PG-13 compared to the last ones, that's kind of surprising to me, honestly, because as I was watching this movie, it definitely felt dark. Whether it's Nagini, or no, I guess it wasn't Nagini, it was actual Voldemort that fucked up that poor little Muggle man in the beginning, or like Wormtail taking the blood of Potter I'm like, holy shit, this is like kind of dark, for a kids movie. And then that's when I like looked it up. I'm like, okay, it's PG-13, but like even I almost said episode 2, Chamber of Secrets, like there's blood in that one, like that one's pretty dark too. It's kind of hard for me to look at that one as just PG because I feel like there's like a lot of murder in that one. Like that one more so.
That's one thing I was thinking about too.
Okay.
Like people don't
Yeah, I
really
guess
die
so.
as much. Like I guess Quirrell dies, but I don't know. That feels not
Right.
as brutal as
He just kind of like
Cedric in
turns
this
into
movie.
dust, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. I think it's just like I'm looking at it as more of like blood being spilled, and yeah, it's like the classic. Instead of blood, they got sucking plasma out, like ways to get away from the PG-13 rating. But yeah, I just found that interesting that this was the first one that was PG-13.
Yeah. Taylor, I know you're a big score guy. Did you?
He is the big score guy.
Find it noticeable?
So I would definitely say yes. I feel like, I mean, especially when the rock part pops off, that's definitely when it gets noticeable.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson's in this.
Yeah. But I think it was very noticeable. I feel like, again, like I'm not a huge kind of like fanboy of Prisoner of Azkaban. I think it's definitely intricate and very detrimental to the story and the plot of this whole franchise. But when we when we go through Prisoner of Azkaban, I will always kind of be like, well, yes, we got through it, and now we're at the one that I really like. But that being said, like it's just I like it because it feels so different. It's changed, and it's very different from the past 3 that we've gotten. I do really like the score. I feel like there's a lot of tunes in here that stick with me. Specifically, the one they just play on freaking repeat is do like it's like every it's like every 30 minutes they play that, like. And I think that the fact that they play it when a guy died is like I shouldn't laugh, but it's really humorous.
Oh, it's more like the band.
Yeah, the band. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The horn section.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that sequence though. Like when they, because that's like the same music of when they go into the maze, and then like if you're just a spectator, and then all of a sudden you see the cup there, you're like, holy shit, they did it! This is epic. And then like and again, if you're kind of stepping away from it, it is pretty humorous. Just seeing Potter just like so distraught there, and everyone's like, fuck yeah, he did it. So there, like, it's kind of funny if you've seen the movie a couple times, but I feel like that moment is still just so like shocking. And I absolutely love that sequence so much. It's yeah.
I want to give a shout out to that meme that I shared in the Discord, where it's just like a picture of Cedric. It's, take my body back. It's just like, I'm a little busy right now. Got his like wand facing off with Voldemort. It's just like, Cedric, that is not the priority.
You dropped that one in the Discord?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
Oh, I see it. Just for the fans, I will pop that up on the Discord.
Put it up. Look at this.
Or on the stream. Yeah, so everyone can see it.
As a producer of all producers.
I mean, that it was a mix with it's a mix with your Pirates of the Caribbean, Taylor. I thought you would appreciate that.
I do appreciate that. I have another one I'm going to share. I like the pig with the glasses, Chamber of Shitposts. Shout outs to them. And I have this one too, actually. This one really got me. He's trying to create a password. I just this is one of those like 1 a.m. memes I found. I couldn't stop laughing.
I'm gonna say, Taylor, some of your memes earlier this week, not my favorite, but I like that one. That's a good meme right there. You did it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Another. So I don't know if anything else to say. We were kind of, I think, getting a little bit lost there, but I want to, or I guess Taylor, do you have anything else you wanted to say on the score, or was that kind of?
No, take it away.
So yeah, we've talked a lot about Dumbledore, and I didn't think I would have to keep bringing this up, but I just have so much to say about Dumbledore. I feel like he's the character for some reason I have the most quarrels with, to use a pun from the movies. So obviously we love Dumbledore from the first 2 movies. We talked a lot last episode of how much changes they had with the character in the last movie. And then I feel like it's obviously the same actor as the third movie, but I feel like he's a completely different character this time around. He seems so energetic and jazzed. He's like aggressively throwing some memes off my game. But that's a good example. Like there's so many times where he's like really aggressive with Harry. He's like grabbing his arm and swinging him around and stuff. And I just don't see that as the Dumbledore that we know and love. And then I just had a big problem with like character wise. We talked a long time last episode about, I was asking like, why doesn't Harry share anything with Dumbledore? Why does he have like no This is actually something I think I brought up, maybe not in the first episode, but at least the second one as well. And I was just really confused why Harry doesn't share anything with Dumbledore. And you guys gave a plethora of great reasons why he doesn't do that. But then in this movie, Dumbledore's like his main confidant. She's sharing more with him than he is with Ron or Hermione. He's sharing kind of this nightmare dream he had in that like abandoned house. He's talking about that intimate moment at the graveyard. And I just feel like it's a complete shift. Why all of a sudden now is he sharing all this information with Dumbledore and coming to him with all of his troubles? It just doesn't seem to fit with what we talked about last episode. And I don't know. Did you guys feel the same way with Dumbledore here, or am I alone?
I almost felt like he wasn't actually his main confidant in this one. I felt like Moody was kind of like that middleman in between him and Dumbledore there. I definitely see what you're saying though. Like, it's definitely more so than what we've seen in the past. But there was a lot of moments that I felt like, man, I feel like Dumbledore should kind of be with Harry a little bit more in these moments. Like, he is the chosen one. Dumbledore knows this, and he's got put into this tournament that's like super, super dangerous. He's underage. He's definitely not like ready for something like this. I just felt like he just didn't have enough moment. It's just like, okay, Moody, just look after him and like make sure that he does well. Like, that was kind of.
Well, that's more just because Moody is sus this whole movie, and he's like just actively stalking Harry and trying to help him and like push him into doing certain things, right? Like, and it's not really Harry coming to him. It's just Moody
well, no,
being
I felt like
with...
Dumbledore tasked him with that, as well as Voldemort tasking Crouch to do that, who is portraying Moody. Because I felt like Dumbledore, like from his perspective, Moody is someone that he can trust, even though he doesn't know that it's not Moody. So he kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think, Taylor, Jessica?
I should just always assume that it's me first, I guess. I don't think that I saw him as the main confidant in this one. I think that, there was definitely a step in that direction, but, one of my notes is obviously that meme that Taylor shared, that there's not a correct kind of translation. Like, it specifically says, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? And then in the book it says, Dumbledore says calmly. It's,
it's 100 meters dash to him.
Yeah. So I feel like, that kind of more energy, the aggravated Dumbledore isn't necessarily how he's supposed to be portrayed.
Yeah.
He's also not like that in the first three movies up to this point.
And this is where I was saying at one point, I mentioned, I don't know how the first Dumbledore would have done in these later movies when they're trying to make him more energetic and more spry and, more lively. Because I can't see, had that actor still been here, I think we would have gotten a more realistic book Dumbledore.
He wouldn't have been running.
He would have been just dancing with McGonagall. Like, I don't think we would have got that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean,
so, I don't know what other besides the telling about the shed, what other really big confidant moments are there? I'm not thinking of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, later in the movie when he goes up to Dumbledore's office to tell him about what he saw at the graveyard and more information there. And I feel like he doesn't share that with like anyone else, like, that moment. And even the fact that he goes just to Dumbledore's office just to talk to him about stuff is something that he didn't do in the other movies. Like, he was sent there once for some reason. I can't remember exactly what the reason was.
Petrifying students.
Yeah, but he never like went there on his own volition just to talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, you can also just think he's
And then
aging,
those
he's
moments,
growing. Maybe he's becoming more confident that he can go talk to the headmaster. I don't know.
yeah, well, I don't know. I think just by what we talked about last episode, like he would go to his teachers, like he would go to McGonagall first. He would go to Moody. Maybe he hasn't known Moody as long, but as you guys said, like if he's seeing this teacher 2 or 3 times a week, he knows him a lot better than you would Dumbledore. So why is he going to Dumbledore all of a sudden? Yeah, I guess it stuck out more to me than it did to you guys, but I'm just feeling like this character is super inconsistent, and it's like really bothering me. It's something I didn't really notice much as a kid when I wasn't paying as much attention. I also feel like he has a lot more screen time in this movie. He's a much more big. He's a bigger player. He's in a lot more crucial scenes and moments. And yeah, I guess early on in the movie too, Harry and Ron are really on talking terms. So Harry doesn't have that his main man with him, and he kind of turns to Dumbledore. It feels like. Which is interesting. I mean, this is a character I've just been keeping a close eye on, and I just can't piece it together. It seems like he's trying something different in this movie than he was last time, and I don't know. It's just really not working for me for such a crucial character.
Your phrase there, like seeing it with one eye, just reminded me of that. I'm gonna do a quote here, but Seamus is like, "Oh, Goddard can see the back of his head." And here, classrooms. I fucked that up, but.
That was A for effort. A for effort.
There's a Seamus line for you, Dylan.
Yeah, I love, dude. Seamus
Somebody's
has
like
some good moments in this movie.
Somebody's like sticking gum under the desk, and then he like sees him like behind him with the eye, something like that. Anyways, just touching upon Dumbledore again. It is interesting because I feel like in this movie, he's like, because they're like the host school of the Triwizard Tournament, I almost like see him as like the showman of like, you know, he's like supposed to be like the host of this tournament, which personally I feel like that just doesn't really suit the Dumbledore role. I feel like he's so prioritized with like defeating Voldemort and like pulling strings behind the scenes and like has like 20 different plans set in motion. So like in this one, he just comes out and he's like Hugh Jackman, the greatest showman, I feel, where he's just like I don't know, that was just like his persona that I was taking from this movie, and I guess that kind of would add to your like inconsistency of the characters that just didn't really jive with me the best. Just because I felt like I felt like there should have been like another person who was kind of like just being the showman for this tournament, and Dumbledore, like for my
you kind of do get that. I forget his name, or I guess it's the
Crouch, right?
Crouch, like senior,
Crouch
right?
Senior.
You kind of get him, and he sort of does that, but then he's gone.
What was his title like in the tournament? He's just like,
well, he's just
works
like
for
the
the
head
Ministry,
of Magic, isn't it?
No, that's Fudge. He's the head of the Ministry of Magic.
Oh right, yeah. I guess I forget what his title.
Jessica, do you know what his title is? Barty Crouch Senior. Bartholomew, I'm assuming that's his first name.
Bartholomew,
which is a dope name.
Bartimus.
Oh,
Bartimus.
That's okay, I guess.
Occupation, head of the Department of International Magic Corporation.
Oh, okay.
So I guess because they're
bureaucrat,
have multiple
bureaucrat. He's got the bureaucratic mustache too. Yeah, multiple schools.
Jessica, I found it in my notes. It was the moment that really stood out to me was Harry talking to Dumbledore about like the ghosts or the spirits popping out in the graveyard, and
that he saw.
Obviously, that's a really important detail because that's, I don't know, really puzzling. And yeah, he doesn't mention that to anyone except for Dumbledore in this movie. So he, in that way, trusts him more with that information than anyone. And I agree, that is something that you would want to share with Dumbledore, but then it goes against why he wouldn't share so many things with Dumbledore in the previous movies, specifically the third movie. I guess you guys made good arguments with Lupin, but it just doesn't connect with me. It doesn't seem like a valid progression.
I mean, I feel like that is a very traumatic incident to go through. And, you know, watching this wizard who you've heard such terrible things about and who has tried to kill you for multiple years. Well, you know, to see him come back and then to see your family come out of his wand that they've killed, you know, who better to talk to about that than the wizard who not necessarily saved him, but put him in with the Dursleys and knew all about that and knew what happened to his family.
Right, but then
I
couldn't
feel-
you say the same thing about like many points in the third movie, and then he just doesn't? In fact, he like actively doesn't share things, even when Dumbledore's like poking at him, like, dude, share anything with me at all, and he just
Is that in the
completely.
third movie though? I feel like he only does that in the second movie. When he's like, "Is there anything you want to share with
Well,
me, Potter?"
Yeah, I can't recall a moment he really shares with him intimate details in the third movie either.
I just feel like he doesn't interact with him at all in the third movie.
Yeah, there wasn't
Not
a
a lot
lot
of
of
screen time for that,
Dumbledore
yeah.
screen
Yeah.
time. Yeah. I definitely 100% see where you're coming from, but I do think, I don't know, especially when Dumbledore's supposed to be the most powerful wizard and all of a sudden the most feared wizard has come back. I feel like if there's ever a time to be like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe I need to start saying something,
Yeah.
that might be it.
Yeah. I like also just like going forward in the series, like those two, just other than the next movie, I feel like after the next movie, they do have a lot of moments like when they're literally searching for like the Horcrux together. So like it does build up to that relationship, whereas I feel like we should have already sort of got that in the earlier movies. So maybe like to Dylan's point, like maybe they shouldn't have been so I don't know, just like different between the different movies, because like
Mhm.
because he
I think
avoids
that's what
him.
it is. I think it just
Yeah.
boils down to a consistency issue.
And just getting back to what you were mentioning, how he only talks to Dumbledore about like seeing his family and like the whole Voldemort incident. I was actually thinking, and like when Jessica brought up the fact that the director wanted this to be in two parts, when I was watching this like this time around, I wanted actually a lot more moments of like Harry just like talking to Hermione and Ron about like, I literally just saw Voldemort and just battled Voldemort, and like what the fuck was that all about? Like I wanted a lot more of
Mhm.
that, which they just don't.
Yeah.
It's probably just a runtime thing, because like I feel like the only moment they really have together is like at the end. I guess school is never gonna be the same. Hey guys, like it's just like, oh, see you next year, and like roll credits. It's happy ending to the story, but like really, like holy fuck, Cedric Diggory just got murdered. Like I want to see like the
Mhm.
aftermath of like what his dad's going through, and like Mr. Weasley like interacting with just the whole aspect of Voldemort being back. I just wanted a lot more of that, especially with the knowledge that I have of like what next movie is, of just like the entire movie is just like the Ministry denying the fact that Voldemort's back. Like I think that's why, spoiler alert, that's why I hate that movie so much. But we'll talk about that one when we get there.
Yeah.
But I just wanted a lot more of like talk between Harry and like the rest of his friends and like the rest of the people in Hogwarts about that graveyard incident. And like what Jessica mentioned, like the director wanted this to be in two parts. Maybe I would have got that if I got two parts.
Well, you don't need it because he does it with Dumbledore, right?
I know, but
the
that's what I
answer.
mean. It takes away I don't know, some of it for
He
me
shouldn't have done it
personally.
with Dumbledore. Then it would have made more sense for him to go to Ron.
No, but I wanted to.
I'm not going to
Yeah,
keep talking about that, but yeah, that kind of leads into the Ron thing. Like, I feel like, well, Ron, I fucking hate Ron in this movie. He is just an asshole to everyone. He is terrible. I can't think of a single moment that's like, yeah, man, I love Ron. He's the character I love from the first three movies. And I think the whole dynamic between him and Harry kind of being mad at each other, I feel like it needed a scene or two more for it to be justified. And then, they get over. I like the scene when they make up, but I felt like they were lacking a scene where they kind of split off in the first place. And the whole thing seems like a bit of a waste of time for me. And I don't know. I think it just kind of added screen time without really doing much. If like halfway through the movie, it just ends up being recovered. I don't know. Is that something that's really important for their characters going forward? Did you guys feel that way as well, or is that once again just me?
I mean, like I agree. I hated it. I feel like I hated it from the first time I watched it. That's maybe I'm just holding on to those memories on why I don't like it. If like in the moment when I'm just defending what it is, I just put it on like hormonal teenagers, just like, oh, he's the chosen one, like, oh, I'm jealous about that. And like that does kind of come up again. I think it's like the second last movie when I don't know. I don't even remember the scene. I feel like he sees like him and Hermione like making out, and it's just like, oh, your friends are against
Yeah.
you. So like that kind of plays again.
It
But
it is justified, like it does make sense, but it's just it's a bit weird, I think, pacing wise, that you have
yeah,
this scene where Harry's name pops out of the goblet, and then the next time,
instantly, yeah, he's just
yeah, and then it like skips scenes to like them going to bed at night. So there's just like several hours there where you'd think like immediately Ron would be like, Harry, what's going on? Like, and then they would talk about it.
yeah,
That doesn't happen, and
no,
obviously
for
Ron,
sure.
Harry gets kind of taken to that side room, and then some other things happen. But it seemed a bit weird to me that it's like just several hours later they're like talking about it for the first time, and then
Well, like
it
even
seems like there's one scene missing there, and I don't know if there actually was a scene filmed that was cut, or if it just was like Jessica mentioned, with this supposed to be 2 movies, you'd probably have more time to develop that thing, and that would probably be that'd be for the whole movie. Those guys would be mad at each other. The second movie they'd get back together, and then that would make more sense actually. Now that I'm thinking about it that way, but that's the reality is I feel like we're missing a scene that would really help piece that puzzle together.
even when I was like a kid, though, I just hated the whole fact that like, why does the school hate Harry for like getting like, shouldn't they be impressed? Like, how the fuck did this kid get his name in it? Like, and they're like, oh, he's a cheat. Fred and George just fucking did it, and the whole school was cheering them on. Like, what are you talking? Like, I never understood why everyone just
I
hated
think because
him
they
for
did
that.
it publicly, right? Harry was sneaking. I guess they all
That's
see it
more
as Harry
impressive. Yeah.
snuck in and did it and didn't tell anyone, and he didn't
Used
tell
his
his best
invisibility
friend,
cloak.
which was unjustifiably reasonable, I
Yeah.
guess, for Ron to be pissy.
And like, if I'm ever playing devil's advocate again, I just put it under, oh, hormonal teenagers. These just, he's at that age. But I don't know, Jessica, what do you think?
I have that in my notes too. Like, all these kids, exactly. Fred and George are trying. Everyone's like, yeah, woohoo! And
Yeah,
Harry's
there are
name pops
heroes.
out. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, he's a liar, he's a cheat. And when Harry's name pops
He's
out,
not
it's like,
even
what?
17.
Yeah, there's definitely a discrepancy there. But when I think about with Ron, because that's kind of where this conversation stemmed from, because Ron talks about how he wants to enter and he wants to be a champion and
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot
and this
about
and
that.
that, right? And so you have to think that if he's got this relationship that he's built for 3 movies about having, helping him with Voldemort and helping him with Sirius and this and that, and all of a sudden, well, I told you how much I wanted to put my name in. Why wouldn't you tell me that you did it? I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be kind of pissed off too. And, kind of, I Googled because I wasn't sure if there was anything in the book, and I can't find anything, but someone made a good point on one of the like discussion forums that you have to think like Ron's the hand-me-down king, right? And so he probably feels once again looked over that his best friend again just didn't share this with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand, teenage hormones aside, how you could be hurt as a person to just not have this information shared with you.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good point. Even like when they go to the rooms afterwards, I had like issues just with the dialogue there. It was almost like the same, not quite to the extent of like what we got in Prisoner of Azkaban, like with Sirius like interacting with like the kids, and like it was just so sus, like the dialogue they're using. Like Ron was all pissed off at Harry in this movie, and then Harry, instead of saying like, Ron, like it wasn't me that put in my name, like, me, I'm being honest with you, he's like, I didn't ask for this. It's just like, I don't know. I felt like the dialogue could have been better there.
Yeah, because that's the first time they talk about it. It needs to be
literally
some
and it was like
dialogue,
hours later.
It definitely drops the ball.
And then they go like straight to sleep like that. Okay, that's the end of the convo, and then they just are avoiding each other for the rest. So I mean, Jessica definitely brought up some good points there, especially because I forgot that little dialogue that they had at the beginning.
I mean,
it's like I want to be the champion,
It's
and
totally
then he's like,
justified from Ron's side. And then Harry is kind of also being a bit of an ass to him, like afterwards when he comes down into the whatever like common room, I guess that is, and then he's like, oh, you're just hearing things. Like he is being pretty snooty with him. But yeah, I think another scene could have done it. But it does like make sense from Ron's character. And yeah, I think you're right that I do seem to remember that being another plot point in particular like part 1 of whatever it's called, Deathly Hollows.
And,
So-
and maybe this is why he, chooses to put some of that information into Dumbledore instead, is because he tries to tell Ron, I didn't put my name in this. I didn't want this. And Ron
Mhm.
just says, you're a filthy liar. Go fuck yourself.
Piss
Yeah.
off.
And then
Yeah,
I guess I also look at it as Ron is also super just total asshole to Hermione and to his date later on in the movie. So there's just nothing redeeming about Ron. I don't know. I understand why
Not
he's
the
mad at
hair?
Harry, but he's just such a dick that I can't back him up for his comments.
Fair enough. Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I again, like I mentioned earlier, I can't justify how Ron acts in this film for the most part. I just feel like he's just, to me, it just seems like he's finally pissed off at Harry for having all the gallons, and Ron has nothing. He's got handy
All the gallons.
and,
What do
like,
you mean by that?
all the money, right?
Wizard's money.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that means? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Galleons.
I got learned.
And Ron's just got like what are they called, the hamdies, or like the handies, the secondary apparel clothing.
Hand me downs.
Hand me
the one.
downs?
Yeah.
Handies?
He's getting handies. Yeah. He's giving handies for
Just like that
licorice
Marauders
wand.
map,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's just peeved because he's getting his handies, so he's not getting the greatest kind of like stuff in this movie, and I feel like it's just kind of making him pissed off. He's finally being shafted as the like the sidekick, I feel like, in this. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, for sure.
that whole scene where it was so awkward, and I can't ever imagine that ever. I mean, sure, it probably happens in high school, I guess, but I can't ever, in my time in high school, ever recall that happening. But he's like talking to Hermione, and Hermione's like Seamus asked me to tell Ron from Hagrid says that. I can't even remember. It was just so kerfuffle.
Seamus,
Like,
don't forget Seamus. Seamus
yeah,
is in
Seamus.
it.
Yeah, Pavardi was in there. Come on.
Yeah, but you know the scene, and she's just like, "Don't ask me to say it again." Like, it's just such a kerfuffle. I'm like, Ron, like, come on, you're right there.
I'm not an owl.
Yeah, that was a good response.
Yeah, she like doesn't care that Ron asks her to deliver that. And as soon as Harry asks, it's like just a total insult.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like that scene though. I thought Hermione, like, she was definitely, I don't know. I felt like she was, I don't even want to say she was like step back from this movie, because she was actually in it quite a lot. I really liked her in this movie though. I thought she killed it from
I think
all
she's
this.
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the running theme of the entire series. I think she's like AAA performance, but in this one in particular, it was definitely noticeable. Like her line delivery in that scene that Taylor was just describing, and just throughout the film, I thought she was killer.
I always, it does bother me the part where she's like telling Ron and Harry to go to bed.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I'm just like, no 14-year-old would be like, go to bed, both of you.
It's a weird comment for sure, but maybe it's like a British thing. Maybe that like means something else.
I mean,
True.
I get, that she's supposed to be like the mother hen for them, right? Looking out for them and telling them to study and this and that. But that one, I was just kind of like, that line's a little weird for
Yeah.
a 14-year-old.
Well,
Yeah.
she's obviously going through some stuff at that point, and I always get like a kind of like a kick out of just how she says it. And that's something Madison always laughs at too. She's like, "Go to bed. Never mind." Like, she's just so all over the place. When she's freaking out at Ron about him not asking her properly to go to the dance,
Mhm.
that whole Ron was trying to do something that I think it was George that did it, because George like threw the note and is like,
Oh, yeah. Dude, he was smooth, like, with that.
Oh, he was so smooth. When Ron tried to do it, Ron was like, I don't even know what he said. He's like, "You want to?"
Yeah.
And Snape just
Hermione,
fucking
you're a
whacks him.
girl.
Yeah,
Wanna-
that's it. Yeah.
Want to dance? Yes, Snape was definitely not in this movie much, but like in those moments, I feel like he was kind of the comedic relief.
He was
Just-
Yeah.
so good. That
beating at
whole
them. I
yeah,
love
that
that.
whole
Yeah.
scene again, and I love it too, because like when I'm driving, sometimes I'll be like, like grab the wheel because that's what he does, and he like pushes their heads down into the book.
I had no idea what you're going for at
Pulling up
first.
the
Yes,
sleeves.
He goes with the sleeves, and
I
then
thought you were like dancing.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Salsa
too.
dance.
It looked a bit weird. For sure. Good old Snape. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I have like I feel like in my mind Snape was a bigger player earlier on. He was like had more screen time and stuff. But I think that just goes to show how iconic of a performance it is. Even that in these small moments where he is a very one-note character so far, that he's still is interesting. And we do get some more backstory on him with the Death Eater thing in that flash. I guess
Yeah,
you wouldn't really call it a flashback, but
just like a memory.
Harry's going into a memory. So I
Yeah.
thought that was cool. And then kind of on that same note, I feel like, is it just me or is Draco like just not even a minor character? He's just a nothing character. Like he's in this movie for like a minute. And I feel like that's been the case. Maybe the first one he seemed like he was in a lot more, but I feel like I remember Draco being a more relevant character. He feels like irrelevant throughout this
Yeah.
movie in particular, but I don't know, the last 2, maybe even 3 movies. I don't know what's going on there. I had a much more stronger memories, and I think it's because he just has a couple iconic lines that stick with me. But I'm a little disappointed with Draco just as a character throughout these all of these movies, and I noticed it a lot more in this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure like what he could have provided though, like in this movie. Other than just like cheering for the other team. Like
Yeah.
that's really all he could
doesn't
do.
really have much
No.
depth to him.
In the beginning, he's like, we're sitting next to the minister, just like
Yeah.
the classic little Weasley lines. But I like honestly, I don't think you could even add more like of him in this movie. I just feel like it doesn't fit. He has no place in this movie, I guess I could say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see if he like becomes a more relevant character later on. I don't know. But I felt like in general, I think this movie had a lot. I mean, it is a longer movie. We didn't really touch on that necessarily, but the runtime is kind of back up to where the first 2 movies were, maybe a bit shorter, but like pretty close, longer than the third one at least. And I feel like most of the characters get a few good moments, and I thought they did a good job in that way. Like Neville obviously has a lot in this movie. Fred and George have a few good scenes, like you guys mentioned. New character Cho, I feel like she has, I don't know, quite a few scenes. Seamus, I think, has a lot of good moments. And then the one that really stood out to me was Ginny. I feel like she gets a lot more dynamic in this, where you can see some of her friendships. You see maybe she's a bit closer with Hermione, which would make sense. But you actually get to see more of that. And I think she like we talked about in the last episode, I think Jessica brought up the fact that she had like, I don't know, an insanely low amount of screen time. Not what you want to see, but she had a lot more to do in this one. So I guess just
And
that was
Neville.
my closing thoughts on just character stuff in general, but I think they did a good job with minor characters, side characters, and having a little bit more to do, or at least some fun moments.
You didn't even mention
feeling like a
Neville.
living
too.
No,
breathing
he
world.
mentioned Neville.
He mentioned
Oh,
it.
okay. I'm sorry. I muted him.
On
Neville
the
deserves more to be said about him, so you can go for it.
Yeah.
on the note of Draco, I think again, like as far as like memorable events that happen with him, I think him being turned into a ferret and shoved down his cohort's pants was definitely like very notable.
I got a question in that moment too. Is Mad Eye Moody, who's technically Crouch Jr., is he like using like that one curse to just like lift him, like the ferret in that moment?
Pretty much, I think so.
Yeah, it's like the most like unforgivable, one of the 3 unforgivable curses. I forget which curse it was, but he's just like when he's just like moving the spider.
Shadow.
Yeah, like is he just doing that to a student like in that moment? I feel like
Sure
it's more
looks
than
like
just.
it could just be a Wingardium Leviosa, I guess. But
He didn't do the swish and flick though. He was just up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it just went over my head. I didn't really think about it until watching it now. That I'm like, is he just doing one of the
Well,
unforgivable curses
I
on
mean,
a student?
even in general, I don't think a regular dark arts teacher would show you, here's how you do this thing that can kill people.
Oh, definitely.
Like that. I don't think that, like, I'm sure they teach about what it is, but I can't imagine that they would teach, people how to do it.
Just torturing like an arachnid right in front of everyone.
Why would anyone need that who isn't a psychopath?
But then again, this is, you have to think it's not really Mad Eye Moody,
Yeah.
right? It is.
Of
Yeah.
course.
It is Barty Crouch Jr.
But I mean, you guys, like a regular teacher would not do that, right? Or is that
Not
part of
one
the
that wants to
curriculum?
keep
they
their
haven't
job.
These
they
kids
haven't
do
had
know
a
how to
good
kill.
streak on dark arts teachers, to be honest. So I mean,
I'd say If they had tenure,
Lupin
maybe.
would not teach
Yeah.
the students how to use the killing curse, in my opinion.
Hell no.
Yeah,
He's doing
that's true.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Quirrell, maybe, but Lockhart doesn't know how. So.
The back of Quirrell's head, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
So just because interested, wanted to look. So Draco only has 2 minutes and 15 seconds in this movie. And I
wonder if they
mean,
count the ferret moments as seconds, or if that counts as not him, because it's not the actor on screen.
You know what? I couldn't tell you.
'Cause that's a good 30 seconds right there.
In comparison, I mean, so Crumb gets 5 minutes and 15 seconds, but Crumb, it only says in this whole movie, I read it was 2 lines, approximately 20 words.
That's crazy.
So
He's more of a physical being.
Yeah.
But he does have more of a presence in the book, and on that note, so does Draco. Like, you don't see it so much in this one, but I believe in the books, if I remember correctly, it's been a while. Draco is the one that actually does all the like anti-Potter pins, and he's the one campaigning against Potter, saying that he should lose and he's the worst champion and this and that.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah. So once again, you know, it's just one of those choices that this director made about where to make cuts. So the screen time is more than the first one, but less than the second one. It's 157 compared to 152 for the first and 161 for the second. So it is back up there.
It's right in there. Yeah.
But something else, like, we don't get any of the Dursleys in this one either.
Yep.
Right.
They get right into it for sure.
At Potter's home.
Yeah, because
or Potter's home, the Weasley home. Sorry.
the book does start.
Even that part is like, it's like 2 minutes feels like before they get into the game. Or
it's really fast. In the book, we do start the same at that
at Dursley's.
Shed. At the shed.
Sorry.
So this is the first book that doesn't start with the Dursleys. But after that, there is still Dursley time before he goes with Ron. But they just cut that out completely.
Like in this particular book, you mean? Or just later on or something?
Well, yeah, so this is what I'm just talking about with the director deciding where to make cuts. They cut out that Dursley piece completely. That was just not worth the time. So, I guess Draco's 2 minutes should be appreciated because it's more than some other actors got.
It's funny, too. I notice when they're when McGonagall's like teaching everyone how to dance, she does the classic dance with Ron. It goes like Mad Eye Moody, like in the corner, and he just has a ferret on his lap. Do you think that's Malfoy?
I wondered about that.
It looked like a different color than the all like albino one that Malfoy was, but I just noticed him like with the ferret, and then I'm like, and then I'm looking for Malfoy. I'm like, I don't think he's in the scene.
Well, he wouldn't have been in the scene because it was just Gryffindor house.
Yeah. Okay. In my head canon, he's the ferret.
It's a weird thing to decide a hill to die on there, Kirklin. That's the Draco ferret, but
you gotta pick your battles, and I'm picking this one.
My last like character specific thing. During the dance, and maybe we'll talk about the dance more later, but there's a quick shot in there where Filch is dancing with his cat. And I just thought that was very cute and a nice way to humanize him from just this guy who's
angry
almost
old man.
Funny looking at that meme. He feels like a Pirates of the Caribbean character just randomly tossed in here. He just doesn't really fit in a lot of ways, but I really liked that. I thought that was super cute. But do you guys have any other like character specific notes?
I am curious. I've always wanted this. So when everyone's gone to bed, it's super late at night, and Neville comes like dancing into the room with his shoes over. Now
I was thinking that exact same moment. I asked Shay, I'm like, did he just get some ass? Like,
that's what I think he did.
Is he coming in like now? I was thinking,
Marauders map.
Yeah, I rewound it, and it looked like it was still nighttime actually, because I think Harry just like woke up in the middle of the night, so it wasn't quite morning, even though it seemed like they're kind of insinuating that he's coming in, just got lucky that night. But I was thinking the exact same thing, Taylor. I was laughing so hard. He's like, I just got in. Me, can you believe it? And then he's like all, like he's walking on sunshine, someone that just got some. But I was totally thinking the exact same thing. That's so funny.
Well, it's
Anything in the book, Jessica?
yeah. What is in the
Neville
book?
getting some ass.
I mean, I'm sure that there is definitely a video somewhere on the internet that confirms your suspicions. You know,
Deleted scene,
probably,
unfortunately.
yeah, probably on the special features at very least, not
Okay.
not not on my cut. That being said, you have to think what I guess no, Ginny's only a year younger, 13. I don't like my sister's like 14. I don't
Yeah, I
really
don't
want
like
to
that.
think about that.
It's
Yeah.
too little.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Oh, I think they're just like holding hands or something. You know, it's nothing too crazy.
I mean, I'm sure they were dancing, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were definitely dancing a lot.
You know?
dancing
Yeah,
into
exactly.
fame.
That's that's why he still had his shoes with him because he was dancing
They weren't on his feet. I'll tell you.
No, they weren't.
Oh.
because his
know
feet
that.
hurt from all the dancing.
Yeah.
So I'll throw because you were just saying about character pieces. I will say that this one is kind of really where we start to see Fred and George becoming tricksters as well. You know, the aging potion, the placing bets on who's going to win each one, and making jokes about, the chances of death and things like that.
I love too that moment. Ginny's like, "Stop being so mean." And they just like look back at her and then carry on. I thought, yeah, I like that moment.
So
Brother
we kind of
sister.
we see it the first one, or not the first one, the last ones that they steal the car, and there's a little bit of it kind of sprinkled in, but this one it's really
Them having the Marauders map, it kind of alludes to that. You know.
yeah, they have it.
And they
but
like
it's
stole it from Filch, didn't they? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one though, really, if you think about the amount of screen time that Fred and George have, it's all building up to that. Look at how trickstery we are.
Yeah.
But they're also like popular and just generally well liked throughout the cast. I feel like you see more of that this time around. I really like what they were given in this movie. Feel a lot more substantial.
Yeah, I think it's a good, because you're talking about with Dumbledore, everything just feels kind of all of a sudden. Where at least with this in the next movie, when they start having all these tricks, the fireworks and during owls and things like this, at least they've kind of done some build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
It's
quite
believable.
So, yeah. And then this isn't a character piece, but you did bring up the map. I just want why this was not brought up at all. Had Harry opened the map even once, which if I had a magical map, I would open up. You would see Barty Crouch Jr. walking around the halls.
I had that question. Is Polyjuice Potion like? Is that not a thing that he would show up as the person he's embodying? Because I mean, that seems like a glaring plot hole. If not, unless he lost the map or something.
And technically, it would show Mad Eye Moody in the chest, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Mad Eye Moody.
Yeah,
then
but that would be like
places.
pretty specific to find that. I could see him not seeing that, but yeah, I would think he would see Barty Crouch if that was a thing with the Polyjuice Potion, that it showed the original person no matter what. Because even as when what's his face was a rat, he was still showing as his name.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's maybe a difference with Polyjuice because it's a pretty strong potion. Perhaps.
My counter to that is he didn't know who Barty Crouch Jr. was at all. So he wouldn't, if he did look, the name wouldn't mean anything. And if he sees Mad Eye Moody in the chest, he wouldn't know it's in the chest. He would see Mad Eye Moody in his tower in his office, right?
And maybe even at a glance, you could see Barty Crouch and just think it's like the old guy that's been walking around the yard.
Yeah,
so that is a good point. Because he doesn't know who that guy is until like near the end. Right?
Yeah,
till
till he goes
flashback,
the memory.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way that's revealed too, because he sees him in this dream, obviously, and then at the World Cup, I don't think he sees his face, he says, but like he definitely has his image in his head. So I feel like I really appreciated that reveal, like in the memory of like, holy shit, I've seen this guy before. He was in my dream, and that's when he's speaking to Dumbledore about that moment. But I really appreciated that reveal in this time around for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick detour. Since you mentioned the World Cup, I just want to point out how these auras are just really shitty at their job. The fact that they landed all around Harry and they didn't know who he was and they just opened fire on him. All you got to do is duck under the shot and you're totally fine.
Yeah,
And
from the
then you're
opposite
shooting at your
side.
buddy on the opposite side.
Yeah, and they're totally just shit because Barty goes up like, "We got you at the scene of the crime." Like, what a fucking horrible detective.
And I mean, also the Dementors are kind of shit at their job. Like, how many people are escaping Azkaban? And maybe he escaped during, when a lot of the Dementors were at Hogwarts, and maybe that could explain it. But I feel like, come on, like some of these people are really given a lot of responsibility, and they're just dropping the ball.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jessica?
There is definitely a lot of questionable problems with Barty Crouch and Barty Crouch Jr. I'm trying to think. I know there's something else that happens in the book that's questionable. I'm trying to remember. It's like he overhears him talking with Dumbledore, if I'm not mistaken. Barty Crouch. I don't know, but the movies definitely don't do any like positive reinforcement of him being a better character at all.
Yeah.
But
When Moody does like the tongue thing, he's like, and then he dies right away after. Yeah, no. It's just-
I don't know.
The character felt like a weird addition.
I'm gonna transition though to just say that I do appreciate, regardless of we don't know what Mad Eye Moody is supposed to be like at this point, but I do think that he does a good job of making him seem crazy. But when you watch this movie, like if you were to watch it and then go back and watch it again right away, it's seeing all the ways that he kind of plays the scene and plays Potter to make everything seem like it's not him, but it is. It's really quite fun. The point, hey, Neville, help him put his books away. Just the little.
No, 100%. Yeah, I was keeping an eye out for, like on this playthrough, and I really really liked it. Just like the subtle ways that he's pushing Potter, like to being successful through these challenges. I love that, and like in that moment, because I feel like he's kind of giving Potter time to like do it, but at the same time he knows he can't because he's just this little, I don't know, what is he, a fourth year at this point? But he because there's like minimal time until the challenge kind of begins. Like that's what Hermione was protesting. It's like hours until the event. Like, what are you talking about? This is the prime time. He's like, just go away. And then he's just staring at Potter. Longbottom. And then calls him over. And then again, it was him that gave Longbottom the herbology book in the first place. That's how he even knew what gillyweed was. So good shout out, Jessica. I loved all those little
mastermind.
Yeah, I loved all those little subtle things of him just being the puppet master of this whole plan, and I loved it.
In a perfect world, Barty Crouch Jr. would have been a fucking great teacher.
No, he's teaching unforgivable
teaching
curses to fourth year students. One of them being Malfoy. Like, come on.
And I mean, the other one too, he's the one placing the port key at the end.
Yeah.
He's the one putting Potter's name in. He's the one who's,
Mhm.
just kind of steering everything in that direction. And I
He
do
tells
think,
what's Cedric about I guess a hint for that second clue. Yeah.
which then comes back to Harry, right? So I think that's a really kind of fun to go back and have that knowledge.
Totally.
Is quite interesting.
I have a couple of questions on his character, I guess, since we're here. One, I mean, and I think I'm just kind of missing a core detail here, but like, what exactly is his plan? Like,
Barty Crouch.
Yeah.
It's what happened basically to get Potter to go through the port key so that they can take his blood to like revive Voldemort.
Right. So next question, I think my question is maybe about port keys, because can only certain things be port keys? Do port key, like, how does it work? Like where it sends you, because couldn't he make something else a port key and then give it to Harry, and then Harry would touch that thing, and then you like,
yeah. No, for sure. I 100%
like, why,
put it on.
Isn't it like way too complicated to make the port key like winning the Triwizard Cup, which is this thing that requires several months and many, many steps? So I think I just don't exactly know the limitations of port
Yeah,
key.
I was kind of putting it under like in the beginning when he has the dream and Voldemort's basically telling Crouch like, no, it has to be done this way. So it's like Voldemort's plan, this whole thing. And I kind of put it along the lines of like, okay, what way can we have this amount of time without like Dumbledore or someone being like realizing like what happened? Because for them, like Potter's just in the maze, you know, like he's not battling Voldemort in that moment.
Right.
I kind of jotted under that. I don't know if everyone feels the same way as I do.
I agree with you because if as again they state in this movie several times, people die in this tournament. So I feel like again, Voldemort's agenda was have Harry in this tournament, kill him, and people wouldn't even bat an eye if he died in the tournament and he died in the maze. People would think that he just died from the Triwizard Tournament, and they wouldn't suspect Voldemort came back. But it was a complete fluke that Harry had the angels come in and protect him and got him out of there. But
the Force Ghosts.
Yeah, the Force Ghosts. I think that's where the plan was ultimately set up for, because he just had to get him away from Dumbledore, right? Because that's if Harry vanishes anywhere else outside of what happened, Dumbledore would be on him.
Yeah, I think I would even push back a little bit on what you just said there. How like I feel like the main goal of him is to get Potter for an extended amount of time and not necessarily just put his death on the Triwizard Tournament, because I feel like Voldemort wants to make a statement like, I just killed the boy that lived, I am back, like the world is mine. I feel like that was kind of agenda there.
But I mean, and this is a port key thing, but why couldn't he like make the dragon egg a port key? Because if like Harry dies in that situation, or like underwater, if he made it some like underwater related thing, like
I mean, maybe think of maybe Mad Eye Moody is the one that placed the cup and made that the port key, right? Whereas maybe he wasn't allowed to have a hand in placing the dragon egg, or there's too many people that touched this piece of the. Cause you know, maybe a defense against the dark arts teacher doesn't get to handle the live dragons, but he gets to help place the curses within the.
For sure.
Within the maze.
And, well, touching on what Taylor said, like, is that what Voldemort's plan is? Is that like said in the movie that he doesn't want anyone to know that he killed Harry?
Well, I kept it like I take it like that because in the next few films, it's all about him being secret, no one believing he's come back because he's trying to gain power and he doesn't want to reveal himself right away.
It's been so long since I've seen the rest of them.
That being said, I do wonder now in retrospect if the cup was originally a port key designed to just take you out of the maze and just pop you back to the lobby, the waiting room. And
so that's probably
easy, just flick of the wrist and then it's going to the graveyard.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's definitely at the end of the day, it's just like a plot thing. Like, how else are we going to see Harry go through all these amazing challenges? I mean, I definitely understand your questions there, Dylan. Again, like if I'm trying to still play devil's advocate for like defending the whole decision on waiting that long, maybe their plans weren't ready. Like maybe they had to gather some devices. I don't know. I don't know what it is at the end of the day. But
well, it doesn't really seem like he has really any communication with that. Like talking about Barty Crouch Jr., it doesn't really seem like he has much communication with them when he's at Hogwarts. I mean, maybe
I don't think at all.
Somehow. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if they just said like, hey, in like a few months, if you could send Harry our way, that'd be great. When he's ready, I guess, when the potion's done, because the timing is pretty precise. You're right there.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, it just goes back to that dream that Harry was seeing of like that little dialogue that Voldemort said, like it has to be done this way, and then Crouch is like really? Okay, like I can do it. I'll do it. And he's like, this is very important. You have to do it. And like obviously we don't get the whole dialogue there. Maybe there's more of it in the books. I don't know, Jessica. Do you remember any more dialogue between like how do they describe that whole dream sequence in the novels?
I don't remember specifically, unfortunately.
No worries.
But I will kind of talking on, him coming back and this whole thing. One other thing, you'll notice in the beginning, I don't have the exact line written down, but Wormtail suggests, because you need the blood of an enemy forcefully taken, right? Was what it is.
Yeah.
Taylor's
I'm looking at Taylor
consulting
because he's got his picture that he shared, and he's kind of got that smirk.
The bone of the
As
father,
soon as you said it.
unwillingly given, flesh of the servant, willingly sacrificed, blood of an enemy, forcibly taken.
Okay, so that's the ingredients that he needs to make this potion to come back. And Wormtail in the very beginning suggests that they do it without Harry, and Voldemort says no, it must be him. Which, you know, there's kind of two pieces to that. One, you know, I feel like this is a lot of work for something you could have done with just anyone who was an enemy of Voldemort. Because I feel
He's
like
got a
there's
lot of enemies.
yeah, I feel like that
Yeah,
list
get Ron.
is probably
I'd get
pretty.
Ron.
Get Ron.
Poor Ron. And then the second piece of that is by using the blood of Harry, that turns him into one of kind of the Horcruxes, which then that makes it so he can't. That's why he ends up in like the white place later on, right?
I thought he was a Horcrux when he was a baby. I thought that's when he became one.
So he uses.
Because didn't they say that part of his soul that night when he dies latches onto the nearest living thing, and that was Harry?
That would
There was
make more
something,
sense, I would think.
There was something about the blood. I'll find it again. But at one point, Dylan asked, I have it up here as well. It says almost any inanimate object can be turned into a portkey. So it didn't have to be the cup. It could have been,
Interesting.
you know, the
I
don't know, the random
well,
bug and then thrown at Harry.
sure.
With
Like I hadn't considered that. I hadn't considered that Voldemort was thinking about doing it in a way that would keep his presence unknown, and that would like a logical place for Harry to die. In which case, that does make sense, and obviously, like to Kirkland's point, like that's what the story. That's what makes for like a good story in this sense. to line it with the Triwizard Cup. I'm just thinking about his intentions and if there was a better way to do it.
For sure.
So it is interesting to know that anything can become a portkey. I wonder what that process is like. I mean, if they're just using it to skip on down to the local Quidditch match, then I imagine it's not like the most expensive thing around or anything like that, because you'd think that they're through all the other movies we've seen all the other ways to travel.
Well, it's interesting because it like from
do we see it? We see it in the future, right? Like I feel like in the last movie.
Well, they just kind of like start teleporting like without portkeys. I forget what that's called.
Honestly, they just grab.
Evaporate.
Yeah, they grab Hermione and Dumbledore, and they just fucking go. So
okay.
you think that'd be the norm? Portkeys are kind of like outdated tech.
Yeah,
really.
I feel like maybe there was a better way for Moody to do it, but that is definitely a pretty evil guy way to do it for sure, right on the grand stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I was just gonna say, like when they go to the World Cup, like the whole, I don't know, the whole usage of like the portkey from my perspective, like it almost seems like kind of like a ritualistic thing. It's like, okay, guys, we'll meet on this hill, this boot, we'll all grab it at the same time. Like, why don't we all get our own boots? No, we got the one. Like it's just, I don't know. Like, I guess I never realized that it had to be
fireplaces.
because fucking Potter can't speak. Apparently, speech impediment. That's why. Diagonally is where he's going.
Cross-eyed, yeah.
Just to before we get too far away from it, Harry survived the killing curse the second time because of two things. One, the Elder Wand that Voldemort was using had belonged to Harry, and it wouldn't kill his owner. But two, because Voldemort had used Harry's blood specifically to resurrect himself, Lily's protection was continued to be alive.
Sorry, what moment was this? Are you talking about like the Deathly Hallows part?
Talking about
at the graveyard.
Him using Harry's blood instead of some other random
cauldron.
enemy. The blood.
Harry's definitely got some strong blood. That's for sure.
It's how like
Type
the
O
Force
or
Ghost
whatever.
like appeared because Harry's
That was
blood
because of
used.
Harry's blood.
So
Oh,
the spell
No.
was still like inactive, right? Or active on him?
Harry's parents came because it was going back in order of the last people the wand had killed. So that's why
Yeah.
Cedric came first, and then Harry's.
the old
mom.
man, actually.
Yeah, sorry. Yes. Then the old man, and then after Harry's mom, Harry's dad. So it was just pulling out the people that his wand had killed, which is weird in its own thing because he used Expelliarmus. I don't know why that happened, but who knows? I'm sure there's some.
Harry did Expelliarmus. Voldemort did Avada Kedavra.
Yeah, but what I mean is, why does that make these spirits come out? Is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't have an answer for
I
that.
just
Yeah, I
I
was
can
gonna ask
understand.
They're at a
about-
religious location. They're at a graveyard.
Was the old man a squib? Because I mean, I don't even think he knew
He's a
why the
muggle.
fuck he was there. Like,
He was a muggle. They were just in his house. Yeah.
yeah,
like, "Get me
just-
out of here!"
he
Really
came
violent,
out.
though.
He looked so like, again, I know he's dead, but he looked even more dead. Like he was so phased out. Like, who are these wizards here, right?
Yeah, so what was going on there? Were those just projections of their minds, or were they actually? Was that actually Lily and James?
Oh, they
Potter?
were definitely there. They were.
Yeah.
I would say they were there because they full on attacked Voldemort, and he was like freaking out in
So-
the fog.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. In Hogwarts, there's all those ghosts walking around. Well, now I'm just curious, how come they can't be a ghost then, and why they can only pop up during these intense moments?
Maybe because they were Avada Kedavra. Maybe you can't come back if you get
I think
Avada.
it
But
was
if you get
more-
decapitated, you're good to go.
That's fine. Yeah.
Nearly
Only
decapitated.
nearly, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. It seemed more like a spirit than a ghost. Like their spirit was attached to this wand that had
Yeah.
killed them.
Yeah.
Attached to the wand specifically. That makes
And-
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when they're coming out of his wand in the order
Right.
that they were killed.
And like
Right.
later on in the films, Voldemort says like him and Harry's wand are like connected, therefore I can't use my wand to kill him. So like would
Because
he
yeah, the Phoenix only released 2 feathers, one in the core of Harry's wand and one in the core of Voldemort's wand.
so like if they did that battle again, would that same thing happen with like the Force ghosts coming out and just like fucking spraying them in the face? Or because they don't have that moment. Like he gets the Elder Wand before that actually happens. But like in theory, is that what would happen again?
I mean, I would think in theory,
Yeah,
based on what
okay.
you were just
So
saying too, right?
Theoretically.
And anytime Harry wants to talk to his parents, he just has to lock with Voldemort.
I'm surprised because Ollivander knew that this one wand was Voldemort's, and he knew he had the other wand with the same feather. I feel like that's like a collector's item. Like, hey, I got the equivalent wand of the Dark
He's not
Lord.
in it for money. Come
He's
on
just
now.
no, he's just a businessman. I'm the opposite of Kirkland. He's just there for the bucks. We see him in some movie in the future.
Yeah.
so it'll be
Yeah, he
interesting.
comes back.
I think it's actually next movie, if I'm not mistaken.
It's definitely Hollows, isn't it? I could be
It's
wrong.
definitely Deathly Hollows.
Is it definitely Halls?
I don't know anything about the 6th, so we'll see what happens there.
We'll see what
Um,
happens there.
Since we are kind of here in the maze, well, we
Yes.
can. I think we should talk about maybe that part just like the challenges next. But in the maze, who bewitched Crumb?
Mad-Eye Moody or Crouch Jr.
And why? Did he just want him to kill everyone that wasn't Harry? I guess.
Yeah, so Harry
Okay.
was guaranteed to get the goblet.
So why did he just bewitch Crumb? Why wouldn't he just bewitch all of them or something?
I think his Crumb was probably the strongest out of all of them.
Probably the
to do it.
dumbest too. His mind is
Yeah,
like
it's a fucking
IQ
goof.
12. So yeah.
Didn't have many lines in the film. Easy to just control.
Yeah, that makes sense because obviously
That's the main
Crumb
reason.
does that really cringy face when he's like looking directly at Harry. I
Yeah.
love that face. It's so good. That makes sense.
Just quickly going back to the before we get away from the cemetery, I just had 2 things I wanted to say. When all the Death Eaters come and then Voldemort's like ripping off their masks, I didn't realize that he like says like Crabbe and Goyle. So those must be like what, the parents, I guess, of like Crabbe and Goyle.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
pissed. He just hates those kids.
Yeah. Fuck you, Crabbe.
yeah, because
Yeah.
those are their last names.
Okay, yeah.
That's
So
why he
that's a cool
calls-
detail. I
Yeah,
missed that. It makes sense why they're just like Malfoy's lackeys, right? So that's they're kind of being
Just like
trained
you
to
just
become
said.
Death Eaters.
you just said Malfoy, right? And it's Draco's his first name.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
Were they obviously, I don't know what they were doing because they just showed up at the Quidditch World Cup for no apparent reason. And then they obviously, you learn from Voldemort that none of them came looking for him. So they were just popping around doing jack shit until they were summoned to the graveyard by the
Well-
calling card, right?
Well, that like the World Cup happens after the Crouch meets with like Voldemort, and like after Voldemort kills that Muggle, that old Muggle man. So
But
like
you
I feel
think
like
he
they
would've-
kind of had a plan in motion at that point.
But they weren't obviously a part of it though, because like no one came to help and like help him do what he was doing. He was saying like
Yeah.
the only one who came was Peter Pettigrew, Like he's the only one who
Fucking little
helped
Pete.
me out. The Scabbers.
Yeah, so like who do you think would be, because the Death Eaters that were like raiding, they had like the full on hats and like the masks and everything. Like, is that
Yeah, they
like
were
where you
decked
get like
out.
the Bellatrix and like the other Death Eaters?
No,
Or, like,
because
offering?
those ones are all still in Azkaban.
Oh, right.
So in
right,
this
yeah.
case, like you had like some Quidditch team going on, like Nimbus 2001s, like Malfoy decked them all out in Death Eater gear and everything.
Gift from Draco's father.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. And then the other note I had on the cemetery one was, I feel like I didn't realize how badass like the introduction to like Voldemort was when he's just like comes out from like the smoke and like he's kind of nude and then he gets like his black cloak and his eyes are looking all wonky. I just felt like I didn't appreciate that introduction like before. It just, he's so ominous and so evil looking. I really love that little intro there. And he's a very just dark
It's a fun
man.
scene. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
score in that scene was like, it was really, really good and really powerful. I agree with you. Because, yeah, when he resurrects and there's so much going on. And the whole time Harry's not saying a bloody word. And then when he goes up to Cedric, he's like, oh, such a handsome boy. And he's like touching him with his foot.
It's gross
It's
toenails.
nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got like fungus toes.
Get away from him.
What do you think that he messed up in the potion to not have a nose?
It's
What was that?
definitely probably Wormtail's hand because it's just like this little rat boy's hand. It's
He's
like,
missing. It's the missing finger.
yeah,
Yeah.
Got you, nose.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's
I don't
amazing.
care what
100%.
anyone says. That's my new headcanon.
Yeah,
He's missing a
100%.
nose because Wormtail was missing a finger.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If it was like Lucius's hand, it'd be all nice, but no, fucking Wormtail missing the finger.
Also in that scene, Voldemort calls Harry's mom a filthy muggle. He's just trash talking, right? Like she's obviously not a muggle.
Oh,
Yeah, they're both.
No, she's creating like a lily petal, and a fish and stuff in this franchise.
I don't know what
so,
I don't know
yeah.
what that means, but yeah, he
Or-
calls.
Does he
her
say muggle or does he say mudblood?
I think he says muggle.
Okay.
I think he's just talking shit, I guess.
I mean, you can have muggles that like like magic folk that are born of muggles, but
I like Hermione.
Yeah, but that would
But
make
that-
her a mudblood, right? Not
Yeah.
a muggle.
But mudblood's more of a street term, I feel like.
Oh, okay. It's the
That's
the
just a
street
vibe.
term.
I mean, yeah, she's a muggle-born witch.
Well, then maybe that's what. Maybe I missed a word. Maybe he threw more of that in there.
He's just salty because her magic killed him once and deflected all that
Yeah.
shit back at him. So he's just a little peeved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
he
blame him.
is.
I don't blame him.
It's like it doesn't
Well, I
count as a
kinda blame
loss.
him.
It's a no contest. I'm still
Yeah.
31-0 in my duels.
Also, since Kirklin mentioned Crab and Goyle, there's another scene from the dance. Apparently, the dance really stood out to me. There's a quick shot of Crumb hanging out in the dance, and then I don't know if it's Crab or Goyle because I don't know which one's which, but one of them is just like popping off, like dancing with him, like mosh pitting him, pushing him around. And I just thought that was such a weird scene to see one of those two like having
Yeah.
a good time dancing at a party. It just doesn't fit with their demeanor, but I thought that was a nice shot.
Oh, for sure.
do you-
It's like your one moment to just party with the greatest secret alive, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's funny too. You mentioned that. I feel like Ron was so starstruck, and then you just never get a scene with them where he like talks to them or something. It's really cool to see. Because eventually he like doesn't care anymore. He's like bored by him, which makes sense, but
Yeah.
that doesn't really matter. Let's talk. We should talk about the challenges a bit. In the
Yeah.
actual Triwizard Tournament. I guess I had just a quick like logistical question. So the first, like, if we look at these, the first round is fighting the dragon, and if you win that, you get a clue for the second round. But then there isn't really an incentive to finish the second round for the third round. I guess you get to go in the maze like 10 seconds sooner. So it seems like almost irrelevant, that detail. And then also like Delacour or Fleur Delacour, I guess.
Fleur Delacour.
Fleur Delacour. Like she straight up like just doesn't finish the second challenge, yet she can still go in. She goes third
Yeah.
into the maze, but I mean, I guess in theory you could just not do the first two trials and then you could just try the third one and win. And something seems a bit broken there. Like you'd have a disadvantage, I guess, but technically there's nothing stopping you from saying I don't want to fight this dragon and I don't want to go in the water. and then still getting a chance to be the champion.
It's
And
a
it's weird, like,
Quidditch
the
play.
first round. What's that, Taylor?
It's the Quidditch play.
It's the Quidditch play. The second round obviously has like the first, second, third, fourth. I think I said that weird, but I guess that like that's just for time, like how quickly you go into the maze in the third round. But the first round doesn't have like a placement, right? Like the placement doesn't really matter for the first two. I guess the second one's just for time going into the third one, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Does that
so.
seem broken to you that you can just skip the first two and
Well,
win still?
I mean, like maybe again, like this is totally me going off on my own little
Off on
predictions
your
here, but like maybe like Fleur Delacour's entrance to the maze is like 100 times harder than Harry's. Like Harry, like the maze didn't seem that hard for him. Like obviously Moody kind of points him in the right direction, but like other than that, he does a couple turns here and there, runs away from the closing maze. But like maybe Fleur's like maybe there's
Like 100 miles fucking away, like
a
super
thousand
far
wolves
out.
got unleashed on her, just
I
chasing
mean,
her. Like who knows? I don't
Maybe,
know.
but they all encounter each other, so it's like
True.
it's not like they were that
no,
far
to
away.
To counter what you're saying about not doing the first challenge, I feel like you need to, because you need that clue to know you're going underwater to the mermaids. Because
But you can
if
also
you-
just not do that one.
well, you don't have to, but then if you don't, you won't be prepared for it. So like if
And
you
like
show
your
up on the
sister would just
docks,
die, right?
yeah, your sister would die. But like, well, no, I'm sure she'd be
I
rescued.
don't
but
think they would
you'd-
just murder.
you'd
It-
show
I
up.
think
would
she
go
would,
save them.
honestly. Like,
You-
why else would
Someone
Harry
go
save her?
save them afterwards. They're not just gonna leave them down there.
You'd show up at the docks and you
Hungry
wouldn't have a
mermaids.
proper way to hold your breath, right? So you'd show up thinking you're gonna be like, what? We're gonna do like a skidoo challenge or like
I was partying all night. Yeah.
wakeboarding. Yeah, like so, like you're gonna be totally unprepared, or you say like fuck it, you go under and you just hold your breath
Yeah.
for 10 seconds.
Hey, Taylor, you're right. I'm just saying from like a min-maxing perspective, like technically you don't need to do the first two.
That's
and
true.
you could still be the Triwizard champion.
That is
That's all I'm
true.
saying. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that they like properly warned the people they abducted, or they're just sleeping
Hell
and they
no.
just fucking
Hell
Crucio
no.
and threw them in the water?
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Brutal.
I predict
Yeah, I
them
think
like
Snape-
going up to
Snape, like,
McGonagall's.
poisons
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
knocks them out.
Just knocking them out when they can turn the corner. I don't
Um,
know. I gotta imagine though, like if they just didn't get the egg, like they would just be. I don't know, like, because like if you come in last in the first two challenges, are they like really gonna be like, okay, you can go get the Triwizard Cup? Like I gotta imagine they wouldn't allow that. I don't know.
I mean, this was one of my notes too that I had is why not just not participate? You know, they don't mention any recourse about if they're like, here's your dragon, and Harry's just like, nah, I'm good, fam.
mhm.
You know, and the other thing too that I have a problem with is why are there two Hogwarts champions? Like, why didn't it just pick Harry?
Well,
not
I think
second
because
in
it
the
was
wall.
clearly there was
yeah.
some like foul play, right?
I looked
But-
into it and it said like Moody entered Harry Potter's name under an unknown school. That's how it allowed to do it.
Oh,
Oh,
I
so
don't know
he
if that's
was
like
the
book canon,
only
but
winner?
when I was reading into it, that's what it just said an unknown school. So
that makes
Well,
sense.
now I'm gonna look.
yeah, fact check me there.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know
on
why.
kirklinsblog.com is where I saw that.
Kirkland's vlog.
Yeah, you would think with how much tech that goblet has, that maybe it would be programmed. Hey, it's a Triwizard Tournament, only 3 people allowed.
Yeah, I love it too. Dumbledore, even in his speech, he's like, "And the 4th contestant in the Triwizard Cup." It's like, why would they like rename it or something? It's the
yeah.
quad, with the Quad Wizard Tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Just rename it on the spot.
Do you guys have a favorite challenge? Like out of the 3, without like the
Definitely-
Voldemort stuff, I guess. Like just
Do you mean like to participate in, or just in general?
no, just
I don't
If
really want to
you're-
participate.
if you're
in it.
Ron in the stands and wanted a good show or something. Yeah,
I
I always love the
wait, if
first
I'm Ron
challenge.
in the stands.
Yeah, or I'm just saying if you're a pedestrian.
Well, the most
I-
boring one by far is the maze thing, because you don't get to see anything. You just wait.
that is
there and
true.
then
Yeah,
a dead student pops out. That's no fun.
100%. Yeah,
But I mean, the water one, you don't really see anything either. Like Harry does a little, he pops off for the
that is a
fans
good
little
point.
bit, and then
I
he
guess I
just-
should have phrased it as a viewer in your.
But then the dragon one, the
TV.
dragons aren't chained up that well, so you could just die. So I think they all just sound awful.
I personally
was.
like the
We made it.
first one.
You made it think there were 4 schools.
Oh, okay, there you go.
He's a smart guy. He wouldn't.
That, look at you go.
Found my blog, Kirklin's
I
headcanon.
I did, yeah.
KirklandPatzer.com.
And then I scrolled down from each Harry Potter movie. I found the fourth one, and then so I see you've got all of them here, all your different headcanons.
Yep,
And
exactly.
it is bolded. Chalk everything up to teen hormones. I'm glad you bolded it for me.
I revisit
think-
that blog a lot.
I think my favorite is the maze, just as like a concept and viewing experience. Obviously,
Yeah.
not if I was in the world, but
No,
I think that is my favorite.
Taylor, what do you think?
Definitely the first challenge. I love how, again, the whole setup to that when he's trying to figure out like what are my strengths? Like I don't really have much to go off of, and then Mad Eye Moody's just like you have a wand just because he's like trying to help him with the
I'm not
broomstick.
allowed a
And
broom. You're
I
allowed
know.
a wand.
I love that so much when he's like Accio Firebolt, and like it comes in and he just hops on, and that whole dynamic of him just like flying with the dragon, like you don't. Again, that's something, and I love when movies do things that you can't get in real life and don't really get in other mediums. But like, what other movie am I going to get to watch a wizard flying on a broomstick out racing a dragon? That's like in the real world.
Campaign, Taylor.
There you go. It's just
Once
it's so
again,
badass.
That was Mad Eye that reminded of the wand, right?
Mhm.
So once again, helping him survive and
He does a lot for sure.
No, definitely. I love too, like when he's in the tent and Harry's the last person to go, and you're just kind of hearing the roar of the crowd, and then like before he goes out there, like you just feel like so much pressure like for Harry in that moment, and then he finally goes out there, and then like the horntail just fucking almost kills him right then and there. But yeah, I love that first challenge. I don't know, to me is just the most exciting.
I think you make a good point that tent part. Like I like that they all reach in there and grab a dragon. It kind of reminds me of like that Spy Kids movie where they have like the little miniature things.
Yeah.
And then I like that Hermione's there. I think that's a nice.
I love that.
Sweet
Yeah,
scene.
too.
And I like that Albus. I don't know why I called him Albus. That's weird. Dumbledore is like,
First name basis.
Granger, what are you doing here? And she's like, I guess I'm leaving. And it's weird because like it looks like Hermione came in through like the back door, like just hidden, like snuck through, but then they all come through that same door. I feel like it is. I thought there was like some weird hidden entrance. But yeah, I like the setup for it. I think my only issue with that one, I understand budget wise why they only show Harry's time fighting the dragon, and it's not that I want to see. I mean, I would like to see all of them, but I would at least like to hear how they overcame the challenge. Even just like the little thing in the second challenge, you see
the bubble heads,
the different
and, like,
ways
the shark,
that they breathed underwater. I think it'd been cool to hear even just a passing line of, oh man, that thing that Crumb did to beat his dragon.
Just headbutted the dragon.
Yeah. So I think that could have been a nice little touch just through dialogue, because once again, budget wise, I understand why they wouldn't do that. But like, man, what is with that chain? Like, was that chain supposed to keep that dragon there?
In the book, it doesn't break. In the book,
really?
Everything stays in the.
So they don't fly around the castle and smash a bunch of stuff.
No, that's strictly in the movie.
That's a bit extra.
Did they talk about like the other players in the book?
I was just gonna say, Fleur Delacour puts the dragon to sleep with a doll. Cedric transfigures a rock into a dog to distract the dragon, and Victor Crumb uses a curse to bind the dragon.
Cool.
All three attempts.
Is it an unforgivable curse?
No.
Oh,
I don't.
A forgivable
think
curse.
they would
then.
allow a school.
I like that a lot. I think that's good information. That would have been fun as a one-liner in there.
And then all three attempts were mostly successful, but Cedric's dragon lost interest in the dog and he got burnt, losing some points. Fleur's dragon snored and set her skirt on fire, and Victor lost points after the binded dragon stumbled into real eggs.
Now, when you say lost points, what do you mean by that?
So they don't go into it, but they do have points in the books for like how well they do, which is why Harry gets, those extra points for saving Fleur's sister.
So would all the points, even from the first round, just be for the third round then, or were the points from the first round affecting the water challenge in some way in the books?
I don't remember that much. I think
maybe they get more time or something like that.
Yeah,
that would make sense, right?
I was gonna say I think there is. It probably has to do with how early they get to go into the final, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But even that is different as well. one of the big pieces that they talk about in the books is they bring in a sphinx from Egypt. So like they brought in the dragons, they bring in a sphinx, and then they have the mer people are like the in the lake already.
There's a sphinx in the lake.
No, the sphinx in the maze.
You silly goose.
In the maze, okay.
And you have to, it has a riddle or a.
You're so silly.
Yeah.
I was looking through my notes. I think I missed a sentence or something.
Sphinx.
I'd be down for that, like a giant sphinx in the water, because I feel like the
Hell
water
yes.
challenge is a bit boring, isn't it? Like there's not really, like there is kind of the set piece at the end, and then Harry fights these weird little squid things, but he just kind of stumbles across the place where the people are, and that's kind of like the end of it. And I guess it's supposed to be that he was swimming around for an hour, and we didn't see that. But I could have used a water sphinx, man. I feel like that could have added a bit to that scene.
As well, I was looking it up, and so basically there is no exact consequences that have been stated for what breaking the rules of the contract are for being put into the Goblet of Fire. But people think it's probably similar to an unbreakable vow where you die if you do not fulfill your end of the obligation. So students cannot change their mind about competing. If they're chosen, they're contractually bound to compete. So I guess you can't just say, nah, fudge it, I'm not going to do this.
Well, I mean,
Who
Flora
would've
did
guessed?
that, and then she competed in the third challenge.
Well, she still tried. She just failed.
Yeah, she still had time on the clock, though. Like, she just straight up said, I'm out.
Yeah, she kind of panicked.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a spell. Maybe she like lost her wand in the water, couldn't re-put a bubble on. I guess she could have just, like you said, just dove down in the water for 10 seconds at a time. And
For sure. I mean, the thing, I was just bringing it up as
She was partying.
just as like a possible world. Obviously, everyone other than Harry put their name in there and wanted to compete and would try. I was just more wondering, like, if there's a way to cheese the system. You know me, always trying to cheese the system. I'm always looking for an easy win if I can find it.
Dylan's the one breaking into Snape's little storage cupboard and stealing the herbs.
The herbs, sure am. Do you guys have anything else on the challenges you wanted to bring up?
I wanted to note, I really love how Crouch is just like all giddy when they're pulling the dragons out of the bag, and like what he's like, Chinese fireball, ooh, like he's just saying all that stuff, and then Harry's just like, I can't remember what it was called. He's like,
that leaves the horntail.
The horntail. What's that, boy?
Yeah, that guy was weird. Really weird.
One other on the challenges piece, in the books, it's actually Ron's brother, like doing the stuff with the dragons.
Charlie, right?
That sounds correct.
Lives in Romania.
Yeah, Charlie. He gets name dropped still in this movie as, like, I guess the one who brought them here or picked them or something like that.
Because I think Hagrid mentions like
in the woods.
Ron's brother Charlie helped bring them in or something like that.
Yeah, so in the books he is actually there and part of it, but what I read online is that he only signed a certain number of movies on his contract, and it wasn't worth.
Wait, where is he?
Charlie?
Is he even in any of them?
Yep,
he's in the wedding one, right?
He's in.
I
Yeah,
remember
that was
Wedding.
Deathly Hallows Part.
But he's
1
not.
and
He
2.
hasn't been officially cast yet, has he?
I
Or is he
didn't
one of the
think he was in
breakfast
it.
scenes?
He hasn't been casted yet, I don't think. Or doesn't he play Bill Weasley? Isn't that like a Bill Weasley's wedding?
Bill Weasley. Yeah, Bill Weasley. He's the one that marries Fleur.
Yeah, so we never do see Charlie.
No, I don't think Charlie's in the
Wait, Bill?
series.
Who the fuck is Bill Weasley?
He's
Another
another one of the
brother.
children.
What?
He's
I
working
do
in
not know
Egypt.
Bill is.
He's the one who marries Fleur Delacour.
Yeah, good for him.
Is she the one in that wedding? From...
Yep.
What movie is that from?
That was Deathly
Part 1,
Hallows,
right?
Part 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's been so long. I did not remember that she came back at all.
Yeah, man, she's part of the Order of the Phoenix.
She becomes a Weasley.
You're just
Her
spoiling
hair
for me
turns
as far as I'm concerned. I'm so rusty on that stuff. Yeah, rip Charlie, I guess. I mean, we see Percy, but even I don't think he's in this one. He's just being a prefect in the first couple movies, and then who knows what happened to him. I mean, he might have graduated, I guess. Maybe that's what happened to him. Anyway, challenge stuff, or I guess Jessica's looking something up.
Well, now I'm on this Charlie thing because
The Charlie kick.
whatever. I read something somewhere, and obviously I remembered it wrong. I'm just gonna change before I get stuck on it. Character things. I like the kind of a shout out here with Moaning Myrtle. How she says, "I could have swore I saw some Polyjuice potions
I had that
in the
note.
drain
I
the
like
other
that.
day."
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of that little hint of what's happening, but also that callback. I thought that was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, kind of the other things I have are not necessarily character specific, but
Well, challenge things too. Anything else on the challenges? Because we were talking about that. Or the
I didn't
Triwizard
answer.
Tournament in general, I guess.
I didn't answer, but I will say that I think I do like the idea of the swimming underwater as a challenge, because to me, it's like drowning is not top of my list for preferred ways to die. So I think
Yeah.
for me, that's a scary challenge, having to
Yeah.
find a way. And like, could you imagine being at the bottom of the lake and whatever your spell is, like, undoes itself? And you're
Mhm.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's why I hate that one the most. I just have like a phobia of that. So I just
There's something sinister about like that thing's been there for years, that lake, and they've never. And like, holy shit, there's more to it. Yeah. it's
Yeah.
kind of that.
And I do have a note too that Daniel Radcliffe did spend more than 40 hours shooting in a 500,000 gallon tank constructed for the film.
How many
Damn.
hours?
More than 40 hours in this tank.
Fuck, that's a full work week of just being in a tank.
Yeah.
I thought I only got an hour.
Yeah.
My apologies. My apologies.
No, I like it.
And then a second kind of did you know fact, for one of the dragons, they used the basilisk puppet that was already created and returned it into a dragon.
Cool.
Recycling.
Yep.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I mean, yeah, what else are you gonna do with it?
Do you think wizards recycle?
I think they just Leviosa it away.
Yeah, they just throw it
No,
on the
they-
black lake and let it fumigate at the bottom.
They like transform into other objects, I would imagine.
I mean, yeah,
turn
they
this water into Rome.
probably just throw it in. Yeah, they probably just throw it in the fucking maze that apparently is the size of a country that's been in their back pocket the whole time. We didn't really talk about- is
Seriously.
there a reason for where that fucking maze comes from? That thing is massive.
Toa's always there and always
Yeah,
will
I
be.
guess so.
And it's like Hermione's bag in the final movies that just pulls shit out forever.
I think there definitely is that kind of thing to it, where it's like maybe they like shrink when they go into it, and it's actually like a small.
Well, if you wanted to
Pocket
hide from
size.
Voldemort, I mean, just hide in the maze. He's never gonna find you.
It's true. I mean, unless he put like a port key in there, and you don't know what to touch.
Mm.
I feel like I'd rather
Yeah.
face Voldemort than that maze. It looks pretty mind trippy.
Yeah. I had a couple more notes, and I'm kind of at the end of my rope here. One, I love the that scene we mentioned earlier where Harry is talking to Sirius through the fireplace. I love the aesthetic of that. I just love the look. The CGI on that is great. And it's a nice scene. It's their only interaction throughout the movie, and I thought that was a nice little scene.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I like how he tells them about his dream and all these things. I absolutely love though when he like gets the letter and he's like, "Hey, meet Saturday 1 p.m. in the Gryffindor come room. Come alone." Am I really gonna believe no one's fucking in there at 1 p.m. on a Saturday? Like, really? I don't know.
Pretty hard
That
for
was-
Harry to do anything about that too. Like, man, what if there's like 30 people
Yeah,
here playing
oh,
D&D? What am I gonna do?
They're all roasting marshmallows around the fire. And then what was Ron doing? It looks like he was sleeping. 1 p.m. on a Saturday, comes down. I thought I heard voices. Fuck off, and he's just total dick to Ron. But yeah, that like meet time. It's like, why not 1 a.m.? Like, I feel like you're bound to have someone like Seamus is gonna come through. I don't know. That little detail kind of irked me, but
I don't know. Did you hear it wrong or read it wrong? Was it AM? I mean, that
I'm
would
pretty
make sense.
sure.
to
I
have
think it
1
was
PM.
early in the morning.
Well-
I don't think it was
Well,
PM.
Ron walked
that
in
shit
all
back.
casually, so
let's see.
I don't think it's in the morning or in the night, because Ron walks in and he's not like, "Oh, I was just sleeping." Like he just walks in all casually.
What does he say?
Everyone's-
Practicing for your next interview, I imagine.
Super sassy.
Yeah, Hagrid asked Harry to meet him at midnight, 1 hour before his meeting with Sirius.
Well, I don't know,
Okay,
man.
there
Ron
you go.
walks in there.
Maybe
Maybe
I'm
Ron
wrong.
was sleeping, but in which case, Ron, need to up your acting skills, because you didn't seem like you just woke up from sleep. But that does make more sense that it's in the middle of the night.
No, yeah, that does make more sense.
My last point, and just want to get your guys' take on this. So at the end of this movie, Cedric unfortunately dies, and then we have like a funeral for him, and everyone is really sad. All that makes sense, but it was making me think that, man, really, there hasn't been too many deaths in these movies so far, like in the present, I guess. Except for like beasts and like snakes and books and things like that. But one death was Professor Quirrell, and obviously he was evil, but for the sake of all the students and the staff, they didn't know he was evil. And for all they know, Harry could be lying, because no one ever sees him being evil except for Harry. And then he just dies in like a very sad way. And maybe he was a good guy that was, kind of parasited by Voldemort. And I feel like, man, what happened to Quirrell? Like, no one gave a shit when he died, and that's kind of sad, because either no one
He
knew
made
that
his
he was
choice.
bad. No one,
Yeah.
but no one knew that he was bad. So it's like, I don't
But,
know.
like,
I feel
was
like
he
maybe
ever
that's a
good,
bit
though?
sus.
Like, did anyone even know that he was good?
Well, I don't know. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, how long was Voldemort on the back of his head? And I mean, either way, it's not. It's like students would still be building, and like his coworkers would be building a relationship with him for years before that. So you think there'd be a little bit more? I mean, this is going back to the first movie. It doesn't matter, but I just thought, poor Quirrell never got that funeral. What if he was a good guy that was kind of taken over by Voldemort against his will? What if he was turned to the dark side? I don't know. I feel like maybe there should be some redemption.
Quit
for him.
voting Quirrell.
Maybe it was him that was
he was
actually.
playing the long con.
He was
Yeah.
sucking on unicorn's blood too. You don't go back from that.
It's true. Anyway, we don't need to have a discussion about that. I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, what else do you guys got? Any other topics?
I don't. There's something else I want to bring up. I should have made a note of it, but
These
I
things-
thought of it as we were discussing, so I should have wrote it down.
it might come back to you.
Might come back. Taylor, read off your notes.
I really don't have anything. I mean, I feel like we're nearing the closing statements here, closing arguments. But I mean, for me, this film was just, unless you guys have a bunch more stuff. I mean, I'm getting some smiles and smirks here.
I mean, I still got like a page of notes here.
Oh,
Let's do
damn.
it.
Well, you
Nice.
go. I'll do my
Yeah,
close
fire 'em
after.
off.
So one thing I thought was funny is, they're coming in on the portkey to the Triwizard, or not the Triwizard Tournament, but the cup, and they're just like, let go now, let go. And it's like, they're all like, what? And it's like, I feel like you guys could have explained what a portkey was beforehand, or at least, there's two adults, be like, okay, we're gonna let go now, and one of them lets go, so they know.
Harry was the first one, and they're like, and he just was out. He's like, okay. I gotta imagine
feel
his
like,
grip was just loosening, and he just.
I don't know, as a 14-year-old kid who has no idea what magic is up until a couple of years ago, and you're spinning through the air and someone just tells you to let go, I'd kind of be like, whoa, what the hell is gonna...
How
don't know.
baller too, with like those three that came in and they're just like doing their little run with their backpack.
Do you
That was
think
amazing.
the portkey or the flue powder teleportation is more stunning to the body? I mean, it's got to be the portkey, right? Because you're like falling through the air.
Yeah, probably the
And
portkey.
spinning?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you gotta be...
Yeah.
And then like I forget the other term, but when Harry like grabs Dumbledore's arm, like
apparate.
I feel like you go inside out during that one.
Yeah,
Doesn't Harry like vomit?
That one's bad,
Yeah.
apparently. And then, yeah, continuing on, shout out to, there's the Deathly Hallows-esque like an artifact or artwork in Dumbledore's office. So shout out to that in this. They kind of hint at it, as well as the 7 locks on Mad Eye Moody, just like 7 Horcruxes. He's in 7 layers of chests. And then
also, I mean, Snape just undoes that with one quick spell. I feel like that's maybe kind of sus for a 7 lock chest, that like one spell just kind of undoes it. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose?
He thought one lock was.
Or is Snape really just that badass that he can? I don't know.
He's that badass.
I mean, he's been after Quirrell's job for years. He wants to do the defense against the dark arts.
Yeah,
he knows how to.
He's like Dumbledore. Watch this.
He knows how to unlock a door. Yeah.
You know, he did that at Loa Mora. Just quick and easy. I don't know.
He never has to say words when he does his spells, so he clearly is pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, and we're not going to get into the logistics of why some spells.
Thank you. That keyword reminded me of my keynote. So when they host the Triwizard Tournament, are like classes just done for the year? Like nobody learns anything. Everyone's gonna just focus on this wild tournament. What about Fleur de la Cour? Like she's obviously out of her element. Is she learning anything?
They go to school there, don't they?
Yeah, they go to school there for the year.
Like exchange students.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it on screen.
This tournament takes a bunch of the school year up.
Yeah. I just had that thought. I'm like, I think they just like canceled classes last year.
Because they had the dark arts class, remember? So we got one scene in class.
That was a special.
That was the only one we saw.
Special one just to see the unforgivable curses. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I was just kind of missing some classic Harry Potter classes, but I just had that thought. I'm like, I feel like nobody's learning anything this year.
Maybe if the movie was 2 parts, you would have got more of that.
Yeah. No, true. Got some Quidditch.
So first task is in November, second is in February, and the third is in June.
Oh, okay. I see.
I mean, I feel like swimming in the lake in February is a task all on its own. Holy shit.
Yeah, I wonder in Britain what it's like in February.
They're in magical Britain, though. You got to remember that.
True.
It's probably 30 degrees more.
Yeah.
That's probably too high. Maybe
Still
10 degrees more.
30. Wow.
Still terrible. I don't want to do it.
No. Major shrinkage.
The other question, once again, this could be answered in the book, and I don't remember, but this one along with the map, why is there no mention of the time turner? Or like what
I was thinking
it?
that too. Yeah, Hermione.
At least the invisibility cloak makes an appearance, because it's like, man, we have all of these insanely useful tools. Maybe we should use some of these.
You could go back in time and stop Harry from touching the port key and reviving Voldemort.
Save Cedric. Can you not do that?
You gotta stop Voldemort before you save Cedric. It's more important.
I mean, you could just go back so Harry's name doesn't get put in, and then there's no port key, and it doesn't matter because he's not in it. You know, I feel like there's a lot of different things you could do.
Yeah, although I think it would be boring if, like, you know, 4
definitely.
movies consist of Hermione going back in time to save things. But you're right. I mean, it is like, does it come up again? The time?
I don't think it does. No.
So maybe it broke.
Not
maybe
in
she
this.
dropped the Black Lake or something like that when she was put underwater. Yeah.
She threw it off the same bridge that Harry throws the Elder Wand.
Yeah.
I just feel like you could at least bring it up, you know? It's broken or something, you know, some state of...
Who gave it? Was it McGonagall or Dumbledore that gave it to her?
McGonagall. Second term, or like, first term or something like that. She says.
McGonagall's like, I need it back. I've gotta go get
made some bad
groceries
deals
or something. I don't have time. Like,
I'm taking too many classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything else about it even on the like websites. But I just feel like something should have been said about it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe at the end of the last one, Dumbledore took it back or something, but it's just one of those things. Why are we not utilizing this?
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this last time, but this book is supposed to have a very large portion about house elves. So there's actually Hermione does this big project. She creates Spew, the ethical treatment of house elves. I don't remember what it stands for, but it shows all about how house elves are actually the ones in like the Hogwarts kitchen, and Dobby is there, and another house elf named Winky. So there's actually like a huge big piece that's taken out of the books, and I guess that's one of the things that the director decided to cut.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you make time for that. Like, I feel like Hermione already has enough going on story-wise, so I can see why it's cut. But I do remember that because this was the last book that I read before falling off, and I do remember that part really stuck out to me. It's like, oh, this is new. This is new content.
So did Dobby just become a slave again for Dumbledore?
No, he gets paid, and he's like happy to.
So
work
he's the
there.
only house elf getting paid out of all these slaves, and just he's flexing. Is that what's going on?
I think these are all the freed house elves. Is the
Oh,
idea.
okay.
They all work there and get paid. They're not forced to be there.
They have their own slaves, Taylor. The guest house elves, we call them.
I don't remember the full importance of it, but I do remember it being a big piece, and I think part of that is just the character development with Dobby and Winky. But
Winky, the Teletubby, of course.
yeah, exactly. You can't be confused with the other Winkies.
Yeah.
The Winkies of the world.
And then I had it mistaken that it was something else about Neville and giving him the gillyweed, but it's actually in the book, it's Dobby who gives him the gillyweed, not Neville. So I was wrong about that.
Oh,
Is
Yeah.
that like
That's weird.
Crouch disguised as Moody? Does he like give it to Dobby or something?
Yeah, so Barty Crouch, disguised as Mad Eye, manipulates Dobby to stealing gillyweed.
Hmm.
well, that's so weird because that seems like it fits so in line with Neville. Was that like a movie thing where he's into herbology?
Yeah.
I don't remember that from the books.
I don't necessarily remember it either, so maybe it is just a movie thing. But I don't know. It all seems very well led up to this. Like I remember mentioning in the second one how it was good that they said, you know, he was good at herbology. He had a hand for herbology when they were pulling the mandrakes
Until he
out.
passes out. He faints.
So, but you know, I just thought I'd call out my own mistake on that one because I did think it was something to do with Neville, but I was wrong.
I love that
That is
instance too.
really surprising to me. So I'm glad you called that out.
I love that instance when he like gives him the gillyweed. And he's like, "You sure this is gonna work?" It's like, well, there might be some, I don't know, discrepancies between salt water and fresh water. He's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And then when he just slugs it back, and Moody just like shoves him in the water.
He downs that. Like that's a little like slimy or whatever, but he's a trooper. He swallows
As soon as
it.
he puts it in, he's just gagging. It's like I can't imagine what
Oh,
like
no.
the texture of that.
I killed
could be.
Harry Potter.
I do love that, you know, unless you have a Tibetan turnip. You're like, I don't know about turnip, but you can try gillyweed, and he's just so happy about it.
No, he's so happy. Yeah, and it's like this guy's just shitting on your favorite pastime, your favorite hobby. No, yeah.
Something else they don't mention in this is Rita Skeeter, who doesn't
Rita
have
Skeeter.
as big of a part in the movies, but she's actually an unregistered animagus as well.
Hmm.
So she can turn into a beetle.
A beetle.
That's
kind
how
of
she gets a
beetle?
lot of her scoops. Is
Like a
she?
dung
That's
beetle?
funny.
I mean, she's a shitty
Probably,
person that might
yeah.
be a tongue beetle.
Just like a maggot.
So
I
that's how
thought she would turn into like a mosquito because that's what skeeters also mean too, right?
Is that what that means?
Mosquito.
Mosquito?
It's another
Yes.
term, skeeter for mosquito, but a beetle's close. I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I feel like everyone else turns into mammals. So it's
Instead of an
interesting that
insect.
she turns into a beetle.
She's not helping the
Is it like a
cause.
big beetle or is it like a tiny little guy, like a fly on the wall?
I mean, I don't think they talk about it in.
The size of her beetle.
That's probably why no one requires you to be
dimensions.
registered, to be honest. Like, oh, you're just a beetle. You hardly qualify for the registration.
I'd kind of be down to be able to turn into an insect.
If you get swatted though. I guess if you're an ant, you get like super strength.
Yeah, you got to be careful for sure. A lot of predators when you're a small little beetle.
Definitely.
It just says a nasty little beetle.
Mm,
Doesn't I have no idea
It fits. It fits.
what size of beetle, but that's how she would get her scoops on people by turning into an unregistered beetle and crawling into their situations to listen to them.
Maybe that's the foreshadow in Prisoner of Azkaban when Hermione's like, the Egyptians used to worship cats, and Ron's like, along with the dung beetle. Maybe that's a foreshadow of Rita Skeeter turns into a dung beetle.
Whoa, that is
Might be
that is
stretching a
breadcrumb.
little
Yeah,
bit
that's
there.
a
I don't know
little
if I'll
bit
eat
of a
into that.
stretch.
I like that. One. What a callback. You're so good with your quotes. You're just like you can remember each line.
Too iconic.
I didn't realize that was an iconic line talking about dung
The
beetles.
dung beetle.
Then a couple, just two more quick shout outs. One is if you watch the end credits, there is a line that says no dragons were harmed in the making of this film. In case anyone,
Alive.
Very
One
nice.
was murdered.
PETA was on them.
It's because they used the basilisk's remains.
Yeah, that was a real basilisk that they murdered.
Yeah, the basilisk was harmed in the film.
It was harmed a while ago.
Yeah.
And then last one, this one I always find really fun, is in the last chapter with Barty Crouch Jr. It's called Parting of the Ways. And then the chapter in which he starts Doctor Who is also called Parting of the Ways. So David Tennant ends Harry Potter and starts Doctor Who
cool.
under the same chapter name. Yeah.
That's cool. That is a fun
And
fact.
that ends my list, pushing us over the 2-hour mark.
Right, but
which
I think every
Taylor-
other episode we were like over the runtime. Well, maybe not the first one, second one. I can't.
Everyone,
No.
we were over 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Hot damn.
I mean, this one, I feel like there's definitely some things we could have talked about more. I feel like,
Yeah.
I definitely had a lot of quick fire things left that normally would have got brought up a little more in conversation, but I mean, every once in a while, 2 hours is okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's things like we could talk about the other schools, but I just don't know how much there is to say about some of them.
That did remind me. The movies do portray them as gender specific schools, where in the books they are not.
Interesting.
Hmm.
A weird change for sure.
A very weird change. Also, because I know Travis, if he was here, he would bring it up. This is where they kind of start forcing Harry to have other love interests besides Hermione, who apparently Travis thinks should have ended up with Harry.
I was always
Interesting.
my ship. I feel like, yeah, especially like you get the moment of them like embracing stuff like that. I got like little hints of it the first time I saw this movie. I'm like, I want those.
Yeah,
two
Ron and Fleur should have ended up.
Ayo, not Bill.
matching up.
Not
Yeah,
Bill.
exactly. Who the fuck is Bill anyway? Right? I don't know.
Bill Weasley.
But-
That
Bill out of
scene
here.
was very.
Head boy.
That one scene was, I felt like, kind of out of place when the Delacours
He's,
or
like,
all the
ghosted.
girls, they were kind of like coming down the hall arriving, and they were like going, and then the scene cuts to their butts, and then you just hear Ron say, "Bloody hell!" Like this is so weird.
Yeah,
I
there's
missed
definitely
that.
some horny teenager energy going on.
Oh
there.
yeah.
Even the camera guy was feeling pretty horny in that one. You're right. He definitely zooms in on
Mhm.
collection
What
of
about
asses.
Crumb? Do we get Crumb's booty?
Yeah, they get a nice little tribal dance kind of thing going on there.
Okay, I just remember what I was gonna bring up. Another point. So
Ooh.
Igor, he's a Death Eater, right? Sounds like he's going
Igor,
full
Talking
Yeah,
about
Voldemort.
the Frankenstein villain.
Yeah, is that his
Igor.
name? Igor, like the head of
I think
Crumb's
that
school?
sounds right. Yeah, something very Russian.
Oh,
He's like literally just a Death Eater. Like we see him going up to like Snape and being like, "Dude, Voldemort's back. Let's go. We got our tattoos activated." Like, not even hiding that he's just like full on evil. What was he doing with the Goblet of Fire? Like, he
yeah, they had
goes
that
into the-
scene.
Yeah, it seemed very like not touched upon, but he's like looking all
He was-
nefarious.
He was trying to take Harry's name out of the goblet, but it didn't work.
like,
What do you mean? Sorry, what scene? What
so there's a
moment?
scene where it's like the Goblet of Fire room, and then
Yeah.
you just see Igor like go up to it, and he like opens the door, and then goes inside and like checks, and then closes the doors. So
Mm.
I originally thought he was the one that put Harry's name in there, but then Mad Eye Moody, which is Crouch, basically like says it was him that put Harry's name in.
He's
So I have
probably
no
just
idea
got
what he did.
some. Yeah, he's probably just got some weird bad memories from Azkaban or something.
I honestly took it as he was bewitched by Mad Eye Moody or by Crouch, and Crouch sent him in.
Igor?
Technically, yeah, I thought that he had bewitched Igor to send him in to put the name in, so that way he still can claim the fact that he did it.
Clean on the record.
I don't know.
But-
I feel like he doesn't have to bewitch him though. I feel like he's just full on Death Eater, and they're not even like
Yeah.
avoiding that fact. It's kind of weird when he like gets there and Albus. It's like they're like old homies that haven't seen each other in a while. I don't
Yeah,
know. The
and
whole Igor thing was just really
you're,
weird.
You're
for
making
me.
some sense because you know they talk about Snape, how he was a Death Eater, but then he turned spy and kind of was working with them. Whereas Igor just like sussed out some other people. Like it's not like he was
Yeah.
reversing his ways. He just ratted on some other people.
No, yeah.
I mean, maybe there's more that happened after that, but
So yeah, there's just stuff with him. I was very. I don't know.
I don't know. Like we're never gonna see that character again, so
True.
I don't know how worth it is. To
Which like
worry
doesn't
about the
explain
minutia.
because there's no reason that we shouldn't see him again. Like it sounded like he was going full Death Eater, but now
Maybe
what
he
for the
does
rest
pop
of the
up.
series
I don't remember.
he just
him.
goes home to like I don't
I
know.
totally
It's
forgot
very
Fleur
weird
was in the movie in the future. So.
character.
Does Crumb
Bill.
come back? I can't remember him in the future.
Hell nah. He's at the World Cup.
There are no Weasleys for him to marry, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah, I guess
Uh,
Ginny.
Still
was
waiting for
taken.
Hermione to call him.
Yeah.
He gave-
Any other notes, or should we slide out of
Ju-
here?
Just gonna switch back to the discussion about the headcanon that Ron was not the right choice. It should have been Hermione and Harry. This movie came out
Ayo.
in 2005, and the final book came out in 2007. So, I mean, they still at this point didn't know that JK was gonna be like JK. Harry's with Ginny. So I mean, you know,
Well-
like you were saying that embrace and things like that. It felt like they were
It's-
leading towards Harry and Hermione.
It's possible the filmmakers were knowledgeable to that. You know, like what to do with the characters. She like had probably advised on all these movies, right?
Did,
in some
did
way.
she?
I don't know. She's listed as a producer on Deathly Hollows Part 1 and 2, but
But doesn't that just mean that she could have given them money? Isn't that all
yeah,
you
but
have
I
to do?
imagine that
producer?
she, I don't know, had some sort of involvement, and it's like even if she wasn't, she could have just said, "Here's what I'm gonna do with these characters," or "Here's what I wrote
Right.
about," or maybe they read like future ones. I don't know, but
I mean,
just
did
playing benefit
she-
of the doubt. I don't really know what the behind the scenes would look like on that kind of thing.
And well, I
'Cause,
mean,
like,
2 years
even-
is a long time. This movie came out at the same time as the 6th book, so I mean, she might have had ideas of what she was going to do, but who knows between
Yeah.
discussion and fruition what changed?
It's true. I do wonder. Like, I haven't really looked into interviews and stuff because I don't really care much for her opinion these days. But I've wondered how much of, you know, thinking back to the second movie, where like that's one of the Horcruxes is the book. Like, is that something that she had planned from the very beginning, or was that just kind of a happy accident that she connected later and things like that? Hard to say how much she knew from the get go. Like, if she knew when she made the first characters in the first book, like, oh, these ones are going to get married. These ones are going to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? It's possibly out there, but I don't know. That's there's so much you could read on this stuff that I don't know.
And then we'll never know.
In the end, we'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that I think we're at the end of this retro.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Final thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I think you guys definitely answered some questions I had and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know how I just when I think about this and some of my favorite moments, I think about some set pieces and I think about the Voldemort stuff. But I also feel like there's just a lot of kind of garbage that's kind of shoveled in here. I'm curious how it'll affect my rankings in the end because I mean you guys are bringing up a lot of things from like future movies that I just completely forget about. I'm just totally oblivious to. So I think a lot of things kind of connect in reverse. Like Jessica mentioned that moment where Moaning Myrtle has that callback to the Polyjuice potion, and then I'm sure there's a lot more of that stuff in the future that'll make me think higher of this movie. And like Flora coming back is an interesting thing that I just completely forgot that she is a character in the future. But I think it's really fun going through all of these movies with a more attentive eye and really paying attention to the minutia. And we've been talking so much about number 5, so I'm really excited for that one, even if I don't have tons of great memories of it off the top of my head. But this has been fun. I like this episode.
Yeah, I really like this episode. It's fun to just like dissect it a bit and like pick out some like maybe more logistical things that it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Or when we bring up things like magical objects, like the time turner, things like that. It's just like it's kind of funny because like when you're just watching these just to enjoy the films, like you don't really think about that. You just like accept the fact that that's an item for Prisoner of Azkaban, and then we just move on with it. Um, but like all in all, I still really like this film. Yeah, and I still love like the huge like reveal, whether it's us realizing that Moody is actually Crouch Jr. or like I still love that huge twist when they go to the graveyard and we see Voldemort. It just goes from something so like exciting and like, oh my god, Harry saved Cedric. They're gonna grab the cup together. Who know? Like, is there two champions now? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Cedric's just dead like instantly. I love that. I mean, R.I.P. Cedric, but at the same time, it makes for some epic emotional roller coaster, especially like when they go back and like Taylor mentioned, like the music's going, just dead Cedric there, and like when his dad like sees Cedric, like
That's
shit.
my boy.
Oh, that still gets me. It's pretty emotional.
It
Could
is.
imagine being in that position, but yeah, I really like this movie, and I'm excited to take on the latter films.
Mhm.
These are the films from here on out you guys didn't watch as much or didn't pay as much attention to or didn't care about.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's just that like whenever a new one would come out, I'd probably rewatch the previous ones, and just mathematically, I've done that less for these later ones. And also, like I said, I this is where I stopped reading the books. So I've read all these ones, but I haven't for the rest of them. And dude, I just number 6, no fucking clue, no idea what's going on in that movie.
I think the big reason for like why I just watched the earlier movies so much was because like when I was younger, those were just the ones that the ones that were out, and I had them on like DVD. So I would just
Rewatched
like
them 100 times.
rewatch Chamber of Secrets like hundreds of times. Meanwhile, like maybe only 4 films were out. And then yeah, when I did my marathons, there's probably a few times it's like, let's just start the Harry Potter films, and then I end on like the 4th film
Yeah, you kind
or
of
something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's getting pretty late, you know. Maybe not, but
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, for me, this film, oddly enough, it's like the one Harry Potter film that I feel like I can just put on without watching any others. Like it's I have those films and series. It's usually my Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I can put on without watching any of the others. And I love that about this movie. It's just so unique, and you get a little bit of everything. You get a lot of magic, you get a lot of Dark Lord, you get just a lot of high school times. And yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's definitely in my top 3 of Harry Potter movies. I rank it very, very high. So I will. It's just it. I will be watching it again for certain, like many, many more times. I already want to watch it again. I love it that much. So, but I'm super excited to get to Order of the Phoenix. It all comes back to Order of the Phoenix.
True.
your favorite film apparently.
One of the top
Highly
3.
anticipated on the GeekVerse Harry Potter Retrospective. That's for sure.
I'm excited to dissect it because I really don't like that movie, but
I am not excited to have to watch it.
Me
Honestly, I
neither,
have
yeah.
no good memories about that movie. Always feels so long. This movie, on the other hand, I really enjoy. I think the challenges, are fun. There is a lot of logistical holes, a lot of questions that are definitely raised and aren't answered. And I could see how this would have possibly benefited from being 2 parts. That being said, I can appreciate that it is 1 part. Maybe had this been made in this day and age, we would have got a 4-hour director's cut like Snyderverse, and that could have worked out as well.
yeah.
I will go ahead and, in its defense, I'm looking up popular hairstyles in 2005 when this movie was made, and long hair and emo things, Zac Efron were popular. So I'll give it to the director that apparently that was just hip and cool at the time. I know that the hair is definitely a thing of content for many people.
Hermione had amazing hair in this film. Shouts out to Hermione.
Look, yeah, when she was in her dress that was the wrong color compared to the books, it looked great.
That trigger
Throw in
you?
that, throw in that little quick fact that I forgot about.
I remember being young little Kirklin, seeing the trailer, seeing Emma Watson in that dress. I'm like, I don't know what this is about, but I'm down. This is exciting.
Put the shoes over your
Get me to
neck.
the theater.
That was me leaving the theater. Like, well, Mom, can you believe me? I'm in late. Me, can you believe it?
Did you feel the same seeing Ron's outfit?
His dress, his
It
dress.
smells like his great aunt.
What do they even call it? His
Great
dress wear.
Antissi.
Smells like it too.
His dress wear, his formal wear.
His dress robes.
He's still
'Cause
wearing
then-
them.
Like, where did Harry get them? Like, it seems like everyone's got matching outfits except for Ron is just forced to wear this
Yeah, Ron
tattered
gets the
old
hand-me-downs.
sock.
Yeah, you think
Okay,
Harry could have done him a solid and bought him his clothes, but he
No,
just
only
fucking
candy.
left them.
He only
Maybe they're
buys
like
candy
ordering
with
clothes,
candy.
and like when they're ordering it is when they were like bickering. So he's like, I'm gonna totally fuck him over and order this.
Oh yeah.
Do we think that Harry still got the prize money and like the eternal fame and everything that's supposed to come from winning?
Oh, he fucking got. He was in the papers after. Of course,
He's
he got
already
the
as
fame.
famous as you can be.
The- yeah. The ministry
Did he
was
get
like
the
pumped
money
that
at
they don't have
least?
to. The ministry's pumped that they don't have to pay him off.
Yeah,
They're like,
what was the
oh well,
prize
someone
pool?
died, so I guess it's canceled.
Someone died. We're gonna keep this check. Sorry, kid.
How
I
much
don't know
money
what the
do you
prize
get?
was. Less than
100.
what Potter had in his Gringotts bank.
Yeah,
Enough to
like,
buy
he
his
doesn't need
whole,
anymore. He's already Batman.
You get
He-
a Nimbus 2001.
Yeah, for his team. A gift
No,
from
just
Harry
one.
Potter.
Single broom.
Yeah, Oliver Woods quit school this year. He's like, I'm done with this thing.
So the winner receives 1,000 galleons and eternal glory.
What's the conversion rate in Canadian dollars on that?
I don't have to Canadian, but to approximately 7,000 US.
In
Which
like
doesn't seem like-
1994, whenever this movie's supposed to be
Fighting a
based.
dragon and like mermaids and a maze the size of Switzerland. I want more than that personally, but
I mean,
I'll
I'll
yeah,
take
it.
Eternal Glory.
yeah.
Are
Sure.
you converting it to Canadian and into current day currency?
So,
Yeah, I
well,
don't
this
know
is
the
weird.
inflation, but
So there are
1.3.
there are 17 sickles in a galleon and 29 nuts in a sickle, meaning there are 493 nuts to a galleon. So $6.64 US equals 39 sickles. So
Why those numbers? Why not like one
Yes.
galleon is equal? That's so weird.
oh,
I-
one galleon is $7.35 US. You said it
Okay,
was
s-
1,000 galleons?
Here, I've already got it for you. It's about $15,000.
Oh, well, what the fuck am I doing the
Canadian.
math for?
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here. It's about $15,000 Canadian in 2021.
That's not bad.
You I don't know where you were going.
I was finding sickles and
He's on the
nuts
deep
and-
web.
Yeah.
You're going really deep.
So Harry could afford a down payment on a house then.
I mean, he could
Well,
definitely
barely.
afford a suit for his
Not in
friend.
this market, but yeah, yeah, suit for a friend.
Yeah. So overall,
Down
I had
payment on the
fun with this
Shrieking
movie.
Shrek.
Oof,
Shrieking track.
that's a no from me. This movie is still probably, I'm gonna guess top 3, maybe top 4, but definitely in the better half of this,
Nice.
the complete 8. I'm excited not for the next movie, but to finish the series. There's definitely a couple of I don't necessarily call them callbacks, but like Easter eggs that I can think of in my mind that I always enjoy when I'm watching these ones. So, yeah, overall, I enjoy this movie. I have it in me to kind of look past the holes in it to enjoy it for
Mm-hmm.
the same kind of reasons I enjoyed it as a kid.
Yeah. Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen 5 in like a good decade. It'll be a long time coming. I'm excited.
Good choice.
Gonna
Just
break that streak
I haven't seen your shirt. Can you just show me quick for the
for fans.
goblet of the fire? Oh,
Whoa.
he's got a
Smile, he's
Harry
got a-
looks evil.
yeah.
What
He
is
looks
that?
like
What is that red
he looks
thing
like
in
the
bottom
Sinister
left?
villain.
I think that's the egg, right? The dragon egg.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Looks like the villain from Sinister.
I want to just point out. I mean, that's a fabulous shirt, Jessica.
Yeah,
That
it
was
is
really cool.
fabulous.
I want to put out one more thing. When they're all gathered in the common room and they're excited for Harry to open up the egg, I just fucking love it. Just fucking like they throw him on the ground as they lifted him up, and everyone's just fucking freaking out. And Seamus kisses the egg and says, "Go on, Harry. What's the clue?" Like it's just. I don't know why he
Seamus that
kisses
thing
it.
to do.
It took Cedric ages to figure out almost all the bubbles were gone.
Moaning Myrtle was trying to sneak a solid peek at what Harry was packing.
All right. Enough of this
Andy.
solid peak. Let's get out.
Andy. In the books, they describe this bath as like the best thing ever. Like there's levers for all the different bubbles and potions and things you can put into the water to make it magical. And
That's what I would equate Sparkling Hill to be like.
That's why I put my 15,000 Triwizard bucks on the bath like that.
it definitely sounded better than Sparkling Hill.
Yes.
With one bathtub.
It didn't say. I realized as I said it that no, those potions coming to the bath would be so better than Sparkling Hill.
Yeah, Sparkling
Anyways.
Hill, you got to pay $15 for a single bath bomb. Like that's not equivalent.
Harry can afford it.
Yeah, with his $15,000.
He's got a lot of nuts to give.
A lot of nuts and
A
sickles.
lot of nuts and bolts.
Alrighty. Take us away.
Yes, that I'm calling it there.
Wands at the ready.
3, 2, 1.
Mischief
managed. Yeah, we did it. Good job, fam.
That was a slimy
Oh.
execution.
Slimy.
Waiting for that outro there, Taylor.
See you guys next time.